If you are listening to these words, perhaps you know the quiet ache that hides beneath the surface of daily life. You wake each morning with tasks waiting, bills piling, voices demanding your attention. Even when nothing is wrong, you still feel the heaviness, as if the weight of the world has settled onto your shoulders. Modern life is filled with noise, pressure, and constant striving. We run from one responsibility to the next, believing that if we just achieve more, earn more, or control more, we will finally feel peace. Yet, peace never seems to arrive. Instead, stress deepens, relationships fray, and silence becomes unbearable. The longing for rest grows stronger, but the path remains hidden. You may have tried to escape by distraction, chasing pleasures, numbing pain with endless scrolling, entertainment, or consumption. For a moment, it seems to help, but when the noise fades, the emptiness returns. Inside, there is a restless hunger not satisfied by possessions or achievements. This hunger is not only yours. Across the world, countless others feel the same invisible burden. Despite all our progress, despite technology and abundance, we are exhausted. We are anxious. We are disconnected. What we truly seek is not another possession or another victory. We seek freedom from the weight that presses against our hearts. Ancient wisdom has spoken to this longing for centuries. Long before the modern age of screens and schedules, human beings asked the same questions. Why is life so full of suffering? Why does peace feel so far away? And what if the way out is not in chasing more, but in letting go? The teachings of the Buddha, though born in a distant time, remain alive today because they touch this timeless wound. They do not demand blind belief. They do not ask you to escape your life. Instead, they offer a practical path, a way of seeing and living that can bring clarity, compassion, and release. They remind us that even in the midst of chaos, a deeper stillness waits within. This journey you are about to take is not about religion as dogma, but about wisdom as medicine. Each chapter that follows will open a door. Behind each door is a human pain you know well, stress that consumes your energy, anxiety that never loosens its grip, financial worries that never sleep, relationships that break your heart, regrets that echo from the past, and fears that cloud the future. And with each pain, there is also a light, a teaching drawn from the heart of Buddhist insight. These teachings are not distant or abstract. They live in simple stories, in daily choices, in ways of breathing, seeing, and responding that can change the way you carry life. Imagine walking through a crowded street with a heavy backpack. You may not even realize how much weight you are carrying because you've carried it for so long. But when someone gently helps you set the backpack down, the relief is immediate. Your body feels lighter. Your steps feel freer. That is the gift these teachings can bring. They cannot erase every difficulty from your life, but they can show you how to carry your life differently, how to rest in the middle of pressure, how to love without losing yourself, how to walk through uncertainty with trust, how to be fully alive without being endlessly consumed. As you listen, let the words meet you where you are. You do not need to agree with every idea. You do not need to force yourself to believe. Simply allow the images and insights to settle in your heart. If they feel true, take them with you. If they do not, let them pass like clouds across the sky. This journey is not about perfection. It is about discovery. It is about opening the door to a new way of being, step by gentle step. And as we begin, remember this: the peace you are seeking has never been far away. It has always lived within you, waiting to be revealed. You wake up, and before your feet touch the floor, your mind is already racing. The list of things to do appears instantly. Emails, deadlines, errands, family, bills. The phone lights up with notifications. Even before you begin, you already feel behind. This is the rhythm of modern stress. It does not announce itself with dramatic explosions. It creeps in quietly, hour by hour, until tension feels like the background music of life. For many, stress has become so normal that we hardly notice it anymore. We live as though rushing, and worrying were simply part of being alive. Yet deep down, there is a recognition. This constant state of strain is unsustainable. Stress is not only about what happens outside us, it is about the way we hold those events inside. Two people can face the same challenge, say, a traffic jam on the way to work. One person fumes, honking the horn, heart pounding, anger rising. Another takes a deep breath, turns on the radio, and accepts the delay. The external event is the same, but the internal experience is entirely different. Stress is not only about circumstances. It is about perception. It is the meaning we give to events, the stories we repeat, the invisible pressure we place on ourselves to be more, to do more, to control everything. Think about the last time you felt completely overwhelmed. Maybe it was a work project with impossible expectations. Maybe it was the pile of responsibilities at home. Maybe it was both at once, colliding until you felt like you could barely breathe. In those moments, stress does not just live in the mind. It invades the body. Shoulders tighten. Breathing becomes shallow. Sleep becomes restless. The nervous system stays on constant alert, as if danger is always around the corner. Over time, this unrelenting pressure wears us down. It makes us tired in a way that rest alone cannot fix. It drains joy from ordinary moments. It makes connection with others harder because we are too tense to be present. Modern culture often praises this lifestyle. We admire the hustler, the one who is always busy, always grinding, always chasing the next achievement. Busyness has become a badge of honor, proof that our lives have meaning. Yet beneath the surface, many of us feel the opposite. Instead of meaning, there is emptiness. Instead of fulfillment, there is exhaustion. We live in a constant state of fight or flight, but the threat is invisible. The enemy is not a wild animal or a battlefield. The enemy is our own restless mind, whispering that nothing we do is ever enough. It is important to pause here and ask, why do we cling to this cycle of stress? Why do we allow it to dominate our lives even when we know it harms us? One reason is fear. Fear of falling behind. Fear of disappointing others. Fear of losing our place in a competitive world. Another reason is habit. Stress has become so familiar that silence feels strange, even frightening. When the noise stops, we are left alone with ourselves, and many of us are not sure how to face that quiet. So we fill every gap with more tasks, more distractions, more rushing, until the cycle begins. Again, imagine a candle burning in a storm. The flame dances wildly, struggling to stay alive against the wind. That is what the stressed mind feels like. Fragile, unstable, always on the verge of being extinguished. Now imagine the same candle in a calm, still room. The flame burns steadily, giving light without effort. The conditions outside matter, but what matters more is whether the flame is shielded. Stress is the storm. Peace is the shelter. The question becomes, how do we create that shelter in the middle of modern life? This is where the wisdom of the Buddha offers a timeless gift. When he sat beneath the Bodhi tree more than 2,000 years ago, the world was very different. There were no smartphones, no commutes, no corporate deadlines, but the human mind was the same. People worried about survival, about status, about family, about the unknown future. They carried stress just as we do today. The Buddha's discovery was not how to change the world outside, but how to change the relationship inside. He saw that suffering arises not from events themselves, but from our attachment to them, our clinging, our endless resistance to what is. And he saw that peace is possible when we learn to meet life differently. One of the core teachings he offered was mindfulness. Today, the word is everywhere in workplaces, apps, and therapy sessions. But in its essence, mindfulness is not a trend. It is the simple, radical act of being present. When you are mindful, you are no longer lost in the past or anxiously projecting into the future. You are here now. You feel the breath entering your lungs. You notice the weight of your body on the chair. You observe your thoughts rising and falling like waves, without needing to chase or suppress them. This presence breaks the cycle of stress, because stress lives in the stories we spin. What happened before? What might happen next? Mindfulness brings us back to the only place life truly exists, the present moment. To illustrate this, imagine carrying a heavy backpack. Inside are rocks labeled with every worry. I must succeed. What if I fail? I don't have enough time. People expect too much from me. You walk through life bent under the weight, every step harder than the last. Now imagine pausing, opening the backpack, and setting down just one stone. Instantly, the load becomes lighter. You have not solved every problem, but you have changed the way you carry them. This is mindfulness. It does not erase life's demands. It teaches. Used to hold them differently, with space and awareness, instead of being crushed. Another essential teaching is the practice of right effort. In modern culture, effort often means striving endlessly, pushing until collapse. But in the Buddhist path, right effort means balance. It means knowing when to act and when to rest, when to push forward and when to let go. Think of a musician tuning a guitar. If the string is too tight, it will snap. If it is too loose, it will not play. Only with balance can the music emerge. In the same way, our lives require balance. Too much effort brings burnout. Too little brings stagnation. Stress often comes from pulling the strings of our life too tightly, refusing to allow any slack. Right effort teaches us to loosen, to trust, to let the melody flow naturally. Now pause for a moment. Place your hand on your chest and take a slow breath. Inhale deeply. Exhale slowly. Feel your heart beating beneath your hand. This is life, not the deadlines, not the endless lists. This pulse, this breath, this moment, it is enough. When you learn to return to this awareness again and again, stress loses its grip. The world may not change, but the way you meet it changes. And that changes everything. Of course, the mind will resist. It will say, I don't have time to breathe. I don't have time to slow down. I must keep going. But this is the very illusion that creates suffering. The truth is that slowing down does not make you weaker. It makes you stronger. It clears the fog so you can act with clarity instead of panic. It allows you to respond wisely instead of reacting blindly. It reminds you that your worth is not measured by how busy you are, but by how alive you are. The gift of Buddhist teaching is that it does not ask you to escape your responsibilities. You can still work, care for your family, pursue goals, but you can do it from a place of grounded presence rather than frantic stress. You can walk through the same storm, yet carry an inner shelter. And from that shelter, you shine differently. Others will feel your call. They will trust your presence. Your relationships will deepen. Your body will heal. Your life will no longer feel like a battle to survive, but a space to truly live. And so we begin this journey by facing stress, the silent thief of modern life. We see how it creeps into our days, how it steals our energy, how it convinces us that rushing is living. And we see that another way is possible, by bringing awareness to each moment. By loosening the grip of constant striving, we can begin to taste a peace that does not depend on perfect circumstances. This peace is not far away. It is as close as your next breath, Stress is often described as an invisible weight, yet in truth, it shapes everything we do. It changes the way we eat, the way we sleep, the way we speak to loved ones. A parent under constant stress may snap at a child, not because of lack of love, but because tension fills every word. A worker under pressure may make mistakes, not from incompetence, but because the mind is scattered in 1,000 directions. Slowly, stress begins to dictate the quality of our relationships, our health, even our sense of self. When left unchecked, it becomes more than a temporary discomfort. It becomes the atmosphere of our life. In many ways, stress is like a shadow. It follows us wherever we go. We might imagine that if we change jobs, move to a new city, or earn more money, the stress will disappear. Yet wherever we arrive, it greets us again. Why? Because the root of stress is not only in external conditions, but in the patterns of the mind. Unless we transform those patterns, stress will keep reappearing, like a shadow under the sun. This realization can be sobering, but it is also liberating. If stress comes from within, then the power to change it also lies within. Story often told in Buddhist tradition is that of a monk who carried a heavy water jar every day from the river to the monastery. At first, he complained of the burden, cursing the weight. But with time, he realized that the jar itself was not the problem. It was his attitude toward carrying it. When he learned to walk slowly, breathe deeply, and focus on each step, jar became lighter. The journey became a meditation. The task remained the same, yet the experience transformed. This is the essence of mindfulness applied to stress. It is not about erasing responsibilities. It is about meeting them with presence instead of resistance. Consider your own day. How often do you rush from one task to the next without truly being there? Eating while checking messages, walking while worrying about tomorrow, working while regretting yesterday. Life slips through our fingers, not because we lack time, but because we lack presence. Stress thrives in this gap between where we are and where our mind wants to be. Mindfulness closes the gap. It roots us in now, and in that rooting, stress begins to dissolve. Another Buddhist teaching that speaks directly to stress is impermanence. Everything changes. The weather shifts, seasons turn, bodies age, emotions rise and fall. Stress often comes from trying to freeze life, to hold things still. We want our health to remain perfect, our finances secure, our relationships stable. But life is movement. To resist this truth is to fight reality itself, and reality always wins. When we embrace impermanence, we begin to soften. We see that difficulties are temporary. No storm lasts forever. We see that joys are temporary too, reminding us to cherish them while they are here. Impermanence does not mean hopelessness. It means freedom. For if everything changes, then even our stress, our pain, our struggles will also pass. Let us return to the image of the candle. In a storm, the flame flickers wildly. But if we remember impermanence, we know the storm will not rage forever. Eventually, the winds will calm. Stress often feels endless, but it is not. It is a passing weather pattern of the mind. When we learn to wait with patience, breathing gently, the storm loses its power. Our inner flame remains, yet impermanence alone is not enough. We must also cultivate compassion for others, but especially for ourselves. Many of us respond to stress by blaming ourselves. We think, I should be stronger. I should handle this better. I should not feel this way. These thoughts only add another layer of pressure. Buddhism teaches that compassion is not weakness. It is the medicine for suffering. When you place a hand gently on your own heart and whisper, "It's okay. I am human. I am doing my best," something shifts. The grip of stress loosens. Compassion allows us to breathe again. It reminds us that perfection is not required. Only kindness is self-compassion also opens the door to compassion for others. When we see our own struggles clearly, we begin to recognize that everyone is carrying invisible burdens. The colleague who snapped at you may be drowning in their own stress. The stranger who cut you off in traffic may be rushing to care for someone they love. When we see this, anger softens into understanding. Stress does not disappear, but it no longer poisons the heart. Compassion transforms stress into connection. There is a beautiful metaphor in Buddhist texts, the mind as a lake. When disturbed, the water ripples, distorting every reflection. When still, the water becomes a mirror, clear and true. Stress is like the rippling surface endless movement that prevents clarity. Mindfulness, impermanence, and compassion are the practices that allow the lake to settle. Beneath the ripples, the water has always been clear. Beneath the stress, our true nature has always been peaceful. We do not need to create peace. We need only uncover it. This uncovering is not accomplished in one day. It is a practice. Just as the body grows stronger through exercise, the mind grows steadier through repeated attention. A few minutes of mindful breathing each morning, a pause before reacting in anger, a gentle reminder of impermanence when fear arises. These small practices are like drops of water that eventually fill a jar. Over time, they reshape the way we live. Stress may still appear, but it no longer rules us. We become less like a leaf blown helplessly in the wind, and more like a tree flexible in the breeze, yet rooted deeply in the earth. Let us imagine this transformation. You wake again tomorrow morning. The phone buzzes with messages, responsibilities. Await, but this time you pause. You take one slow breath before rising. You feel your feet touch the floor, steady and grounded. The day unfolds with its challenges, but instead of rushing blindly, you move with awareness. You remember that everything passes. You treat yourself kindly when mistakes arise. By the end of the day, you are still tired, but it is a natural tiredness, not the crushing exhaustion of stress. You have lived, not merely survived. This is possible. Not someday in the future, but beginning now. And so, stress, though powerful, does not have to define us. It can become the very doorway to awakening. Every moment of tension is an invitation to return to the present, to breathe, to remember. Impermanence, to practice compassion. In this way, stress is not only an enemy, it becomes a teacher. It shows us where we are clinging, where we are resisting, where we are forgetting our true nature. And when we listen, it guides us back to peace. This completes the first stage of our journey. We began by naming stress as the silent thief of modern life. We explored how it weaves into our days, how it drains our energy, how it convinces us to live in endless rushing. We then discovered the Buddhist response: mindfulness to return to the present, impermanence to loosen our grip, compassion to soften our hearts. Together, these teachings form a path through the storm. They remind us that peace is not a distant dream. It is available in each breath. Yet stress is only one of the many weights we carry. There are other burdens that keep us awake at night. Among them, one is especially persistent: the worry about money, survival, and security. Just as stress steals our calm, financial anxiety steals our sense of safety. It drives endless striving, endless fear, endless comparison. In the next part of our journey, we will face the second pain directly. We will see how the teachings of the Buddha illuminate not only our inner struggles, but also our relationship with wealth and desire. And we will discover that freedom is not found in endless accumulation, but in the wisdom of enough you check your bank account late at night, scrolling through numbers that never feel enough. Bills wait on the kitchen counter. Rent or mortgage is due. Groceries cost more than last month. The car needs repairs. The paycheck comes in, and almost instantly, it disappears. For so many, this is the background hum of life. Financial worry. It gnaws quietly, sometimes loudly, whispering that disaster is just one step away. Even when the basics are covered, there is a constant voice saying, "It's not enough. You must earn more. You must prepare for every possible loss." Security always feels one day out of reach. Money is strange. It is simply paper, metal, or numbers on a screen. Yet it has the power to shape our mood, our sense of worth, our relationships. A small debt can keep us awake at night. A sudden bill can trigger panic. Promotions or bonuses can lift us, but only temporarily. Then the hunger returns. More is needed. Always more. This is the cycle of financial anxiety. Fear when we lack, restlessness even when we gain. We chase security, but like a horizon, it keeps moving farther away. Why does money carry such power? Because money has become a symbol. It represents survival, freedom, status, even love. We imagine that if we have enough, we will finally relax. We will finally feel safe. But ask anyone who has crossed one financial threshold after another, and they will often admit the fear did not vanish. The zeros in the account changed, but the unease remained. Financial anxiety is not only about dollars. It is about the stories we carry, stories of scarcity, of fear, of self-worth tied to possessions. Perhaps you grew up in a home where money was always tight. You remember parents arguing over bills, the shame of saying no to school trips, the quiet humiliation of wearing worn-out clothes. Those memories carve deep grooves in the heart. As an adult, even when your situation improves, the old fear lingers. Or maybe you grew up with abundance, yet the message was clear. Success equals wealth, and wealth equals respect. Now, no matter how much you earn, it feels like the measuring stick keeps moving higher. In either case, money is no longer just currency. It is identity. It is fear. It is pressure. This anxiety can damage relationships. Couples fight more about money than almost any other subject. Friends drift apart because of differences in income. Families fracture over inheritances. When financial worry rules us, we begin to see others through the lens of gain or loss. We compare, we envy, we resent. Love and connection shrink under the weight of financial fear. The Buddha understood this. He lived in a world without bank accounts or stock markets, yet the human relationship with wealth was the same. People clung to possessions, believing them to be the key to happiness. Others suffered from poverty, consumed by fear of not surviving. The Buddha saw that wealth itself was not the root problem. The problem was attachment, the endless desire for more, the belief that security lies outside us. He taught that true safety does not come from possessions. It comes from wisdom, compassion, and the freedom of knowing how to live with enough. There is a story of a poor farmer who approached the Buddha, desperate. He listed his problems: failing crops, debts, family struggles. He begged the Buddha for a solution. The Buddha listened patiently, then said, "I cannot help you remove all your problems. You will always have some. But I can help you with the problem of thinking you should not have any." This teaching applies to money as well. Financial challenges may never fully disappear. Life will bring bills, repairs, unexpected needs. But the deeper suffering comes from believing that once we fix the money problem, life will finally be perfect. This belief keeps us trapped. The real freedom comes when we release it. One powerful practice in Buddhist teaching is contentment, learning to see what we have is enough. This is not resignation. It is not about ignoring real needs or refusing to improve your situation. It is about shifting perspective. Instead of measuring life by what is missing, we begin to notice what is already present: the roof overhead, the meal on the table, the breath in the body. Gratitude becomes the antidote to the poison of scarcity. When practiced deeply, contentment brings a peace that no amount of money can buy. Consider the difference between a person who earns little but feels grateful for each simple joy, and a person who earns millions yet always feels lacking. Who is richer? True wealth is not measured by possessions, but by freedom from craving. The Buddha himself came from a royal family, surrounded by riches. Yet he renounced it all, discovering that even luxury could not shield him from aging, sickness, and death. His life became the ultimate testimony. Security built on possessions is fragile, but security built on wisdom endures. Another teaching is generosity. This may sound counterintuitive. How can giving ease financial anxiety when we already feel we do not have enough? But generosity is not about the size of the gift. It is about the openness of the heart. When we give even something small, we loosen the grip of fear. We remind ourselves that we are not defined by scarcity. We participate in a flow of abundance that is larger than us. Generosity creates trust. It dissolves isolation. It transforms money from a source of fear into a tool for connection. Studies today even confirm what the Buddha knew long ago. Those who give experience greater happiness than those who only hoard. Imagine holding your breath, afraid to let it go. Eventually, the lungs burn. Release becomes the only relief. Money is similar. When we clutch it tightly, anxiety builds. When we allow it to flow, to support, to share, the tension softens. Of course, wisdom must guide generosity. We give without harming ourselves or neglecting real responsibilities. But the act of giving, no matter how small, breaks the chain of financial fear. Mindfulness also plays a role. Just as it calms stress, it can reshape our relationship with money. Before buying something, pause. Ask, do I truly need this? Or am I trying to fill an emptiness inside? Before panicking about a bill, breathe. Ask, what is the reality of this moment? Am I safe right now? Often, the anxiety is about imagined disasters in the future. Mindfulness pulls us back to the present, where solutions are possible and peace is available. Let us return to story. There was once a monk who had only one bowl. Each day, he walked into the village to receive food offerings. Some days, the bowl was full. Some days, it was nearly empty. Yet he ate with the same calm. His contentment did not depend on the size of the meal. It depended on his awareness that life provided enough for that day. In modern life, we may not live as monks, but we can learn from this spirit. We can approach each paycheck, each meal, each small act of support with gratitude, trusting that enough is possible. Financial anxiety may tell us, I will be safe only when I reach this number, this salary, this savings. But the truth is that no number will ever silence that voice, because the voice is not about money. It is about fear. The way to quiet it is not by chasing endlessly, but by seeing clearly, by practicing contentment, generosity, mindfulness, by remembering that security built on possessions is fragile, but security built on wisdom is unshakable. This is not to deny the reality of poverty or the injustice of economic systems. These are real and painful, but even within them, the human heart has a choice. We can live chained to fear, or we can live rooted in wisdom. One path leads to endless craving. The other leads to peace. The Buddha pointed to this peace not as a distant reward, but as something available now, in each breath, in each moment of enough. As we close this first half of our exploration of money and security, remember this: financial anxiety is a universal pain, but it need not define your life. You can begin, even today, to loosen its grip. Look around at what is present. Offer kindness through small acts of giving. Pause before fear drags you into tomorrow. In these simple steps lies the beginning of financial freedom. Not freedom from bills, but freedom from fear. And in the next part of our journey, we will go deeper. We will look at how desire itself fuels the cycle of financial suffering, and how the practice of letting go opens us to a different kind of wealth, the wealth of simplicity, generosity, and peace. Money anxiety is not only about survival, it is also about desire. Even when the bills are paid, even when the fridge is full, the mind whispers more. A larger house, a newer car, a bigger savings account. We imagine that once we reach a certain level, peace will finally arrive. Yet when we get there, another level appears. The appetite grows. Like salt water, the more we drink, the thirstier we become. This is the endless chase of craving. It never ends, because it is built on the illusion that external things can satisfy an internal hunger. Desire itself is not evil. The Buddha did not teach that we must reject every wish. He taught that clinging, grasping tightly, refusing to let go, is the cause of suffering. Imagine holding a rope tied to a moving cart. As the cart pulls away, the rope burns your hands. The pain is not from the cart moving. It is from your refusal to release. In the same way, life will bring and take away possessions, opportunities, wealth. When we cling, we suffer. When we loosen our grip, peace returns. Think of the last purchase you made that excited you. Perhaps it was a new phone, new clothes, or something for your home. For a while, it felt wonderful. But soon the shine faded. The joy was replaced by the same old restlessness. This is the cycle of craving. Temporary highs followed by the return of emptiness. Buddhism calls this the wheel of suffering. We spin endlessly, chasing satisfaction, never realizing that the wheel itself is the problem. The Buddha offered an alternative, the middle way. Not indulgence, not harsh denial, but balance. We use money for needs. We enjoy comforts when they arise, but we do not build our identity upon them. We do not let our peace depend on them. This is freedom, not from possessions, but from obsession. Imagine sitting by a river. You may drink when you are thirsty, but you do not try to dam the entire river, fearing that water will vanish. You trust the flow. In the same way, the middle way invites us to trust life's flow, to take what we need, to share what we can, and to release what passes. Another powerful practice is reflection on impermanence applied to wealth. Look at history. Great empires rose and fell. Fortunes were made and lost. Palaces crumbled. Generations passed. Nothing remained. The same is true for us. No matter how much we accumulate, one day we will leave it all behind. Remembering this truth can feel unsettling, but it is also liberating. If we cannot keep it forever, why cling so fiercely? Now? Why sacrifice peace of mind for possessions that will eventually slip away? When we embrace impermanence, we begin to loosen the chains of greed. We invest instead in what endures. Compassion, wisdom, kindness, generosity, too, becomes more natural. When we remember impermanence, if wealth will not follow us, why not let it serve others while we are here? Why not transform it into relief for someone hungry, medicine for someone sick, education for someone lost? Each act of giving becomes a way to turn fleeting resources into lasting impact. In this way, money, once a source of fear, becomes a vehicle for compassion. But generosity is not only outward, it is also inward. We must practice generosity toward ourselves. This means releasing the harsh inner critic that says, "You should be richer by now. You should be more successful." That voice is endless. It will never be satisfied. Inner generosity says, "I have enough. I am enough. I'm allowed to rest." This shift is radical in a culture that worships accumulation. Yet it is the path to true freedom. Let us imagine a life shaped by these teachings. You still earn money. You still pay bills. But money no longer controls your mood or defines your worth. You buy what is needed, but you do not chase endlessly. You give when you can, and it brings joy. You remember impermanence, so you live with gratitude. You hold possessions lightly, like sand in an open palm, allowing them to come and go. In such a life, financial anxiety has no ground to stand on. Fear loses its teeth. Desire loses its grip. You walk lighter, freer. Does this mean you will never worry about money again? No, worry may still arise. Bills will still arrive, but the difference is profound. Instead of being consumed, you will meet those moments with clarity and calm. You will know that your worth is not tied to your bank account. You will know that true wealth lies in peace of mind, in love freely given, in wisdom that no market crash can erase. This is the wealth that Buddhism points to. The wealth of enough dot, and there is one more teaching that ties this together: simplicity. Modern life constantly tells us to want more. Advertisements scream that happiness comes in the next product, the next upgrade, the next purchase. Simplicity says otherwise. It invites us to step off the treadmill, to live with less and in doing. So, to discover more space, more clarity, more freedom. The joy of simplicity is not in deprivation. It is in liberation. When we are no longer slaves to endless desire, we can finally rest. Imagine a home with fewer possessions, but filled with laughter. Imagine meals that are simple, but shared with love. Imagine days that are slower, but rich with presence. This is not poverty. This is abundance of a different kind. It is abundance of spirit. Simplicity allows us to focus on what truly matters: relationships, experiences, inner growth. And when stress about money arises, simplicity reminds us, happiness has never been for sale. As we close part 2, we see the arc clearly. Financial anxiety is real and painful, born from fear and desire. But the Buddhist path shows us another way. Contentment teaches us to see what we have as enough. Generosity opens the heart and breaks the chains of scarcity. Impermanence reminds us not to cling. Simplicity frees us from the endless chase. Together, these practices transform money from a source of suffering into an opportunity for awakening. And now we move forward. Beyond stress and beyond money, another wound cuts deep in modern life: the struggle of relationships. Love, family, friendship, they bring us joy, but also heartbreak, conflict, loneliness. We long for connection, yet often find ourselves misunderstood, hurt, or isolated. In the next part of our journey, we will face this pain directly. We will see how the Buddha's teachings on compassion, non-attachment, and loving kindness can heal the fractures of the heart. We will explore how to love fully without losing ourselves, and how to open the gates of connection without being trapped by fear. You love someone deeply, yet they still hurt you. You give everything to a partner, a child, a friend, yet sometimes what returns feels cold, distant, or even cruel. Relationships are the place where we experience our greatest joy, but also our greatest suffering. A single harsh word from someone close can wound more deeply than 100 insults from strangers. A broken bond can echo for years. Even when love remains, misunderstandings and unspoken needs create distance. In this way, relationships become both the medicine and the wound of human life. Why are relationships so difficult? On the surface, the answer seems simple. People are imperfect. We clash, we disagree, we want different things. But beneath these differences lies something more universal. We expect others to complete us. We expect them to heal our loneliness, to carry our pain, to give us security that we cannot give ourselves. When they fail as they inevitably do, we feel betrayed. We forget that they, too, are carrying their own fears, their own wounds, their own longing. Instead of two whole beings meeting in love, relationships often become two incomplete beings, grasping at each other for wholeness. Think of the last argument you had with someone close. Maybe it was about chores or money or parenting. On the surface, it looked like a practical issue, but underneath, perhaps what you really wanted was recognition. See me, value me, hear me. And perhaps what they wanted was the same. Two hearts, both longing to be understood, collided in frustration instead. This is the hidden story of countless conflicts. It is not about the dishes or the bills. It is about the deep human desire to feel safe and loved. Buddhist wisdom sees this clearly. It teaches that clinging is the root of suffering, not only with possessions, but with people. We cling to the idea that a partner should never change. We cling to the belief that a friend should always agree with us. We cling to an image of eternal romance, eternal loyalty, eternal harmony. But relationships, like everything, are impermanent. People grow, feelings shift, life moves. When we cling to fixed expectations, we suffer. When we release, we begin to see relationships as living rivers, always moving, always changing, yet still capable of nourishing us if we flow with them. One of the most powerful teachings for relationships is loving kindness metta. Loving kindness is the wish for others to be happy, to be safe, to live with ease. It is unconditional, not based on whether the person pleases us. It says, "May you be well, even when we are hurt." This does not mean accepting abuse or neglect. Boundaries remain important, but loving kindness changes the quality of our heart. Instead of bitterness, we cultivate compassion. Instead of resentment, we practice release. This shift softens conflicts and makes genuine connection possible. Imagine speaking to a partner during a fight. Instead of shouting, you pause and silently repeat, "May you be free from suffering. May you find peace." The words may not solve the argument instantly, but they shift your energy. You are no longer fighting an enemy. You are meeting another human being who suffers as you do. This recognition opens space for healing. Many people discover that practicing loving kindness toward themselves and their loved ones changes the entire atmosphere of their relationships. But what about loneliness? Even in a crowded room, even in a marriage or family, many feel isolated. Loneliness is not only about being alone, it is about feeling unseen. The Buddha understood this pain as well. He taught that true connection begins with understanding. When we listen deeply, without judgment, without preparing a rebuttal, without rushing, we offer a gift rarer than gold. We give presence. In that presence, loneliness dissolves. A person feels, "I exist. I am seen." Practicing deep listening in relationships is a form of compassion. It is also a medicine for our own loneliness, for in truly hearing others, we open the door for them to hear us. Another challenge in relationships is anger. Anger flares when we feel disrespected, betrayed, ignored. But often anger is only a mask for deeper pain, hurt, fear, sadness. The Buddha compared anger to a burning coal that we hold, intending to throw at another. But the one who suffers first is the one who holds the coal. Releasing anger does not mean suppressing it. It means looking beneath it, asking, what wound is fueling this fire? When we see the pain beneath anger, compassion naturally arises. We realize the other person is also caught in their own suffering, just as we are. This realization does not erase boundaries or consequences, but it allows us to respond with clarity instead of destruction. Let us pause with a story. There was once a young monk who lost his temper at a fellow monk for forgetting to complete a chore. He stormed to his teacher, furious. The teacher listened, then asked, "When you hold a hot coal, who gets burned first, you or the one you wish to throw it at?" The young monk fell silent. The teacher smiled gently and said, "Let go of the coal." The teaching was simple but profound. Anger only deepens suffering. Release is the path to freedom. That release is also essential in love. Many people suffer not because love ends, but because they cannot let go. A relationship changes or ends, and they cling to the memory of what was. The Buddha taught that everything conditioned by causes will eventually change. Love, too. To grieve is human. To remember is natural. But to cling endlessly is to chain ourselves to the past. Healing comes when we honor what was, learn its lessons, and open again to what is. In this way, love does not die. It transforms, and yet release does not mean coldness. It does not mean detachment in the sense of apathy. In Buddhism, non-attachment means loving fully without grasping. Imagine holding a bird in your hands. If you clutch too tightly, you crush it. If you hold too loosely, it may fly away. But if you hold gently, with openness, you can enjoy its presence without fear. This is the art of love without attachment. It allows intimacy while honoring freedom. It allows commitment while embracing change. It allows us to give love as a gift, not as a contract. Perhaps the deepest challenge in relationships is self-love. Many of us seek others to heal wounds we have not healed ourselves. We expect partners to provide the acceptance we withhold from our own hearts. But when we lack self-love, relationships become fragile. We depend on others to fill our emptiness, and when they fail, the emptiness grows. The Buddha taught that loving kindness must begin with oneself. May I be safe. May I be happy. May I be free from suffering. At first, these words may feel awkward, but over time, they plant seeds of healing. As we learn to love ourselves, we stop demanding that others complete us. Relationships then become a meeting of two whole beings, not two halves seeking completion. 2. Bring this into daily practice. Try this. When you wake each morning, place your hand on your heart and whisper a simple phrase of kindness to yourself. It might be, "I am enough," or "May I live with ease today." As you repeat it, notice how it softens your mood. Carry this same energy into your relationships. When conflict arises, pause, breathe. Remember that both you and the other person long for love, safety, and recognition. This simple awareness can transform a moment of disconnection into a step toward healing. As we close this first half of our exploration of relationships, let us reflect. Relationships are hard because they touch our deepest needs. They expose our fears, our wounds, our longing. But within this pain lies the seed of awakening. Each conflict is a chance to practice compassion. Each moment of loneliness is a call to deepen presence. Each act of anger is an invitation to release the coal. And each heartbreak is a reminder of impermanence, guiding us toward a love that is free, gentle, and real. And so, we move toward the next stage. In the second half of this journey into relationships, we will go deeper. We will explore forgiveness, the rebuilding of trust, the courage to open again after pain. We will see how Buddhist wisdom teaches us not only to heal broken bonds, but to build relationships rooted in true freedom and compassion. This is the art of loving without fear. Forgiveness is one of the hardest acts in any relationship. The mind clings to hurt like a wound that refuses to close. We replay the betrayal again and again, each replay cutting us open once more. We believe that holding on protects us, that remembering keeps us safe from being hurt again. Yet, in truth, unforgiveness is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to suffer. The Buddha taught that resentment is a chain, binding us to the very pain we wish to escape. Forgiveness is the key, not because it erases the past, but because it frees the present. Imagine carrying a heavy sack of stones. Each stone is a grudge, a memory of hurt, a disappointment. The longer you carry it, the heavier it feels. Now imagine setting the sack down. Instantly, you breathe easier. The weight has not vanished into nothing. The stones still exist, but you are no longer burdened. This is forgiveness. It is not denial. It is release. You do it not for the sake of the one who hurt you, but for your own freedom. Forgiveness also allows relationships to heal. When a partner, friend, or family member makes a mistake, the bond may crack, but does not have to shatter. Through forgiveness, trust can be rebuilt. But rebuilding is not the same as forgetting. It requires patience, honesty, and boundaries. Buddhism teaches that compassion must walk hand in hand with wisdom. To forgive blindly, without discernment, may invite repeated harm. True forgiveness is wise. It honors the humanity of the other, while protecting your own well-being. It says, I release the poison of resentment, but I also learn from what happened. Trust, once broken, is fragile. It cannot be forced. It grows slowly, like a seed watered over time. Each small act of honesty, each moment of presence, each demonstration of care becomes a drop of water nourishing that seed. If both people are willing, trust can grow again. If not, forgiveness may still be offered, but the path may lead in different directions. In either case, the heart learns to soften, to release the chain of anger, to open once more to love. Another essential lesson in relationships is vulnerability. Many of us wear armor to protect ourselves. We hide our fears, our insecurities, our needs. We believe that to reveal them would make us weak. But in truth, vulnerability is the doorway to intimacy. When we dare to say, I feel afraid, or I need your support, we allow another person to truly see us. That seeing creates connection deeper than any surface exchange. The Buddha encouraged honesty of heart, seeing clearly what arises, naming it without shame, sharing it with compassion. In relationships, this honesty becomes the bridge that closes distance. Vulnerability also means allowing ourselves to love again after pain. When the heart has been broken, it is tempting to build walls, to close the gates forever. But walls that keep out pain also keep out joy. The art of living is to build gates, not prisons. Gates can open and close with wisdom. We learn to trust again, carefully, gradually, but we do not give up on love. For love, despite its risks, is one of the greatest expressions of human life. Without it, we may feel safe, but we also feel empty. Buddhist practice offers tools too. Nurture vulnerability. One is the meditation of loving kindness. By silently repeating phrases such as, may I be safe, may I be happy, may I live with ease, we soften the walls around the heart. We then extend those wishes outward, to loved ones, to neutral people, even to those who hurt us. Slowly, the heart expands. It becomes less afraid to feel. It becomes strong enough to risk opening again. Vulnerability then transforms from weakness into courage. Another practice is deep communication. The Buddha spoke of right speech, words that are truthful, gentle, beneficial, and timely. In relationships, this means speaking not to wound, but to connect. Instead of blaming, you never listen. We speak from the heart. I feel unseen. When this happens, instead of shouting in anger, we pause and breathe. We choose words that open space rather than close doors. Over time, right speech builds bridges of trust. It makes relationships safe places where vulnerability can flourish. Of course, not all relationships can or should be saved. Some are too harmful, too toxic, too dangerous. In such cases, the path of wisdom may be to walk away. Buddhism does not demand that we stay in every bond at all costs. It reminds us instead to act with compassion, including compassion for ourselves. Leaving a harmful relationship can be an act of great love for ourselves and even for the other, who may also be trapped in unhealthy patterns. Release creates the possibility for both to grow. But even when relationships end, the lessons remain. Each love, each friendship, each bond, whether lasting or broken, teaches us something about ourselves. They show us our fears, our hopes, our capacity for compassion. They reveal where we still cling and where we can let go. In this way, every relationship becomes part of our awakening. None are wasted. Even heartbreak can become a teacher. Let us picture this. A heart once shattered, closed tightly in pain, slowly begins to open again. At first, it is cautious, fragile. But with each breath of mindfulness, with each act of self-compassion, the heart grows stronger. It learns that love is not about possession, not about perfection, but about presence. It learns that relationships, like rivers, flow and change. And it learns that true freedom is to love without fear, to forgive without clinging, to connect without losing oneself. This is the path the Buddha invites us to walk. As we step out of this part of the journey, we see relationships in a new light. They are not only sources of pain, but also opportunities for deep practice. Each argument becomes a chance to let go of the coal. Each moment of loneliness becomes an invitation to listen more deeply. Each heartbreak becomes a reminder of impermanence. And each act of love becomes a glimpse of the boundless compassion at the heart of existence. We have explored stress, the thief of peace. We have explored money, the restless hunger for security. We have now explored relationships, the mirror of our deepest needs. Each of these pains points us toward the same truth. Suffering is real, but it is not final. There is a way through. And as we continue, we will turn to another wound that touches millions today, the quiet storm of anxiety. Not the temporary worry about a test or a meeting, but the deep unease that haunts daily life. In the next part, we will see how the teachings of the Buddha offer a lamp in the fog of anxiety, guiding us toward clarity, courage, and calm. There are nights when the body is tired, but the mind refuses to rest. You lie awake, staring at the ceiling, heart pounding, thoughts spinning. What if I lose my job? What if I get sick? What if my child struggles? What if the future collapses? The mind plays out scenarios like endless movie reels, each one heavier than the last. Sleep remains far away, and even in the morning light, the unease lingers. This is anxiety, the silent storm that sweeps through modern life. Unlike stress, which comes from specific demands, anxiety is vaguer, more slippery. It is the fear of what might happen, the dread of possibilities that have not yet come to pass. Anxiety does not always roar. Often, it hums quietly beneath daily life. You scroll through headlines and feel a knot in your stomach. You step into a meeting and feel your chest tighten. You hear a loved one's voice on the phone and sense worry rising before words are even spoken. Anxiety paints the world with invisible shadows, turning ordinary moments into potential threats. For many, it has become the atmosphere of existence, a constant background noise of what if? Why does anxiety grip so tightly? Part of the answer lies in the human brain itself. Our ancestors survived by scanning for danger. Those who anticipated threats lived longer. But in the modern world, the dangers are no longer wild animals or sudden storms. They are deadlines, economic shifts, health scares, relationship uncertainties. The brain, however, reacts the same. It sees threat everywhere. It pumps adrenaline, It quickens the heart. It prepares for battle even when no battle exists. What was once a survival tool now becomes a prison. The pain of anxiety is not only physical, it is emotional. It tells you that you are not safe. It tells you that something terrible is always around the corner. It whispers that you are not strong enough to face what might come. Over time, these whispers shape the way we live. Some avoid social gatherings, fearing judgment. Others obsess over health, fearing sickness. Still others numb themselves with distractions, fearing silence. Life shrinks under the weight of fear. What could be joyful becomes frightening. What could be peaceful becomes uneasy. Anxiety steals not only calm but freedom. The Buddha saw this pattern of fear clearly. Though the word anxiety may not have been used in ancient texts, the reality of restless worry was the same. He described it as a mind like a monkey, swinging endlessly from branch to branch, never still. He saw that beneath anxiety lies attachment, the clinging to certainty, the craving for control. We want the future to be safe, predictable, guaranteed. But life by nature is uncertain. When we resist this truth, fear grows. When we embrace it, peace begins. One teaching that speaks directly to anxiety is mindfulness of breathing. The breath is always here, always steady, always now. When anxiety drags the mind into imagined futures, the breath pulls us back to the present. Slowly, gently, with each inhale and exhale, we remember, this moment is safe. This moment is enough. The body softens. The mind begins to quiet. Science today confirms what the Buddha knew long ago. Conscious breathing calms the nervous system, reducing anxiety. But beyond science, the practice carries spiritual depth. Each breath is a reminder of life itself, a gift renewed moment by moment. In anxiety, we fear we will not survive the future. In mindfulness, we remember we are surviving now. Another teaching is acceptance. Anxiety often says, "This must not happen." Acceptance replies, "Whatever comes, I will meet it." Acceptance does not mean passivity. It does not mean ignoring problems. It means releasing the illusion that we can control every outcome. Imagine standing in the ocean, trying to push back the waves. Exhaustion quickly follows. Acceptance is learning to float instead, trusting that the waves will rise and fall, and that we can move with them. In the same way, life will bring uncertainty. We cannot stop it, but we can learn to meet it with openness instead of resistance. This shift dissolves much of anxiety's grip. Consider a person waiting for medical test results. Anxiety fills the days with dread. What if it is bad news? What if my life changes forever? The waiting becomes unbearable. But when acceptance is practiced, the inner voice changes. The results will come. Whatever they are, I will face them when they arrive. Right now, I am breathing. Right now, I am alive. The fear does not vanish completely, but it softens. The days are no longer consumed by dread. This is the power of acceptance. It frees us from living in futures that may never come. Compassion also plays a vital role in healing anxiety. Many who suffer from anxiety judge themselves harshly. They think, "Why can't I be stronger? Why can't I relax? Something must be wrong with me." These judgments only deepen the fear. But Buddhism teaches that compassion is the antidote. Anxiety is not weakness. It is a form of suffering. And suffering deserves kindness. Imagine a child trembling in fear. Would you shout at them, "Stop it"? Or would you kneel down, hold their hand, and say gently, "It's okay. I'm here with you"? In the same way, when anxiety arises, we can speak kindly to ourselves. "I see you. I know you are afraid. May you be safe." This self-compassion begins to transform anxiety into an opportunity for tenderness, a powerful story tells of the Buddha himself facing fear. While meditating in the forest, he encountered Mara, the embodiment of fear, temptation, and doubt. Instead of fighting or fleeing, the Buddha greeted Mara calmly. "I see you, Mara. Come, sit with me." He did not resist. He did not collapse. He invited fear to tea. Over time, Mara left, powerless. This story reveals a deep truth. Anxiety grows stronger when resisted, but loses strength when met with awareness and acceptance. By saying, "I see you, fear," we strip anxiety of its power. It becomes a visitor, not a master. Practical practices flow from this teaching. When anxiety arises, pause. Name it. This is fear. This is worry. Breathe into it. Place a hand on your heart if needed. Invite it to sit with you. Watch it rise and fall like a wave. Notice that it is not permanent. Notice that it is. Not your identity. You are not anxiety. You are the awareness that sees anxiety. This shift creates space. Instead of drowning in fear, you observe it. And in that space, peace begins to return. Yet peace does not come only through sitting still. Action also matters. Anxiety often thrives in inaction, in the endless loop of what if. Taking one small step, making the call, writing the plan, seeking support breaks the loop. The Buddha spoke of right effort, not frantic striving, but wise action. By taking one step at a time, we move forward instead of spinning in circles of fear. Anxiety whispers that the mountain is too high. Right effort reminds us, take one step, then another. The climb becomes possible. Community, too, eases anxiety. Alone, fear feels overwhelming. Together, it feels lighter. The Buddha emphasized the importance of Sangha, community of practice. In Sangha, we find others who share our struggles, who remind us we are not alone. Modern life often isolates us, making anxiety worse. But when we gather with others, even in small ways, sharing honestly with a friend, joining a supportive group, the burden lifts. Anxiety thrives in silence. It shrinks in connection. As we close this first half of our exploration, let us pause. Anxiety is real. It can grip the body, haunt the mind, shrink the spirit, but it is not unbeatable. The Buddha's path offers tools: mindfulness of breath, acceptance of uncertainty, compassion for self and others, the courage to meet fear directly, the wisdom of right effort, the support of community. Each of these practices reminds us, anxiety does not define us. It is a wave, not the ocean. Beneath it lies a vast stillness, waiting to be uncovered. In the second half of this journey into anxiety, we will go deeper. We will explore the roots of fear in impermanence and death, and how Buddhist teachings turn these realities from sources of dread into gateways of freedom. We will discover how courage grows not by denying fear, but by embracing life as it is: fragile, uncertain, yet profoundly beautiful. At the root of anxiety lies one great truth we often avoid: impermanence. Everything changes. Our bodies grow older. Loved ones leave. Circumstances shift. Jobs end. Health falters. And ultimately, death comes for us all. Much of anxiety is an attempt to resist this truth. We cling to youth, to possessions, to relationships, to plans for the future, as if holding tightly will keep them safe forever. But deep down, we know we cannot. This knowledge, even if buried, fuels a constant unease. Anxiety is often the shadow of impermanence we have not yet faced directly. The Buddha did not shy away from this reality. He placed impermanence at the heart of his teaching. He taught that by looking clearly at change and death, fear can transform into wisdom. Imagine sitting by a river. The water flows endlessly, never the same from one moment to the next. To fear this change is to suffer. To accept it is to find peace. Life is the same. When we accept impermanence, we stop demanding that things stay as they are. We learn to cherish them while they last. Anxiety begins to soften, replaced by gratitude. One of the most powerful practices is meditating on death, not morbidly, but as a reminder of life's fragility. When we remember that life is brief, we stop wasting energy on endless what-ifs. We focus instead on what is real here now. Anxiety says, "What if tomorrow brings disaster?" Reflection on impermanence replies, "Tomorrow may never. Come, let me live fully today." Far from paralyzing us, this awareness brings freedom. We become less afraid of loss because we understand it as part of life's flow. We learn to love more deeply because we know each moment is precious. Consider this: if you had only one day left, how much time would you spend worrying about unpaid bills or imagined insults? Likely very little. You would want to be present with those you love, to breathe deeply, to live fully. The truth is, we do not know how many days remain. Each one could be the last. Anxiety shrinks in the face of this truth. It reminds us, if the future is uncertain, let us at least live this moment with clarity and love. Another deep source of anxiety is identity. We fear losing not only possessions, but ourselves, our roles, our reputations, our sense of who we are. The Buddha taught that the self we cling to is also impermanent. It is not fixed. It is a collection of experiences, thoughts, memories, constantly shifting. When we mistake it for something solid, we fear its loss. But when we see its fluidity, we relax. We realize we are not limited to one identity. We are not defined by every anxious thought. We are something greater, the awareness that holds it all. Anxiety loses power when we no longer cling to a fragile. Self-image.courage, then, is not the absence of anxiety. It is the willingness to face life's impermanence directly. A warrior does not fight because fear is absent. A warrior fights because something matters more than fear. In the same way, spiritual courage arises when we accept that fear may visit but does not have to rule. We continue to breathe, to love, to live. We walk into uncertainty, not with panic, but with trust. Trust that whatever arises, we can meet it with awareness and compassion. The Buddha's own life shows this. Before enlightenment, he faced his deepest fears alone under the Bodhi tree. Mara appeared with armies of doubt and terror. The earth itself shook, but the Buddha did not run. He placed his hand on the ground, calling the earth as witness too. His right to be there. Fear lost its power. Enlightenment dawned. This story is not only ancient myth, it is a mirror of our own struggles. Mara still visits us in the form of anxiety. But like the Buddha, we can learn to stay, to breathe, to witness. We too can claim the earth beneath us as support in daily life. We practice this courage in small steps. When anxiety arises before a conversation, we pause and breathe instead of running. When worry whispers about tomorrow, we gently return to today. When fear tells us we cannot handle loss, we remember impermanence and open to gratitude. Each act of courage, however small, weakens anxiety's grip. Over time, these acts form a new habit. The habit of trust. Community again becomes vital. Alone, fear feels overwhelming. Together, it becomes lighter. Sharing anxiety with trusted friends, teachers, or fellow practitioners allows us to see we are not alone. Everyone carries fear. Everyone faces impermanence. In this shared humanity, anxiety transforms into compassion. We realize the one sitting next to us is also trembling inside. This recognition builds bonds stronger than fear. Another practice is offering fear itself as fuel for compassion. When you feel anxiety, instead of asking, "Why me?" you can whisper, May all who feel this fear be free. This transforms anxiety into connection. It becomes not a private prison, but a bridge to others. The Buddha taught this practice of Tonglen breathing in the suffering of others. Breathing out. Relief. It softens the heart, turning fear into love. And in that love, anxiety dissolves. Let us imagine a moment of transformation. A person sits trembling before a big decision, flooded with what-ifs. They close their eyes, breathe slowly, and whisper, "This is fear. I see you." They place a hand on their heart, feeling its beat. They remember impermanence. This moment will pass. Tomorrow is not yet here. They open their eyes, look around, and notice the light on the wall, the sound of birds outside. Anxiety is still present, but it no longer owns them. They are larger than their fear. They take the next step calmly. This is the fruit of practice. As we close part 4, we see anxiety in its full shape. It is a storm born of fear, clinging, and resistance to impermanence. It steals sleep, peace, and freedom. Yet the Buddha's path offers medicine, mindfulness, of breath, acceptance of uncertainty, compassion for self and others, courage to face impermanence, trust in the present, and community support. With these tools, anxiety becomes not an enemy, but a teacher. It reminds us of life's fragility, guiding us to live more fully, love more deeply, and rest more peacefully. And now, we move to the next chapter of this journey. Beyond stress, money, relationships, and anxiety lies another wound, regret and the weight of the past. Many carry memories like heavy chains, reliving mistakes, clinging to what cannot be changed. In the next part, we will see how the Buddhist teachings on forgiveness, impermanence, and rebirth in each moment can free us from regret, opening the door to healing and new beginnings. You are walking through the day, but your mind is not. In the present, it is replaying an old conversation. The words you said echo again and again, each time heavier. Or perhaps you see a missed opportunity, a path not taken, and wonder endlessly, what if? Sometimes the weight is even greater. Mistake that hurt someone you love, a decision that changed the course of your life. You wish with all your heart you could go back, but time is unyielding. The past does not return. And so you live with regret, carrying yesterday like a stone in your chest. Regret is different from ordinary memory. Memory simply recalls. Regret judges. It points to the past and says, you should have done better. You should have known more. You should have been different. It chains us to moments that no longer exist, making us relive pain as though it were happening now. Instead of learning and moving forward, we circle endlessly, trapped in the same story. In this way, regret steals life. It replaces what is with what can never be. Why is regret so powerful? Because it combines two illusions. The first is the illusion of control, that if only we had acted differently, life would be perfect now. The second is the illusion of permanence, that the past is frozen, unchangeable, yet somehow still alive in our minds. Together, these illusions create suffering. We punish ourselves for not being wiser, stronger, kinder in a moment that has already dissolved. We treat the past as if it can still harm us, when in truth it exists only in memory. The Buddha understood this human tendency well. He described the mind as often caught in two extremes, clinging to the past or grasping at the future. In both, we miss the only true reality, the present. He taught that holding on to the past is like dragging a corpse behind us. It weighs us down, slows our steps, fills the air with decay. To be free, we must learn to release, to let the past rest where it belongs. But release does not mean denial. The Buddha did not ask us to pretend mistakes never happened. He asked us to look at them with clarity and compassion. When remorse arises, it can be healthy. It shows we have a conscience, that we care about the impact of our actions. But when remorse becomes endless regret, it becomes poison. Healthy remorse learns, changes, and moves forward. Unhealthy regret punishes without end. The difference is everything. Imagine a musician playing on stage. In the middle of the song, she strikes a wrong note. She can stop, replay it in her mind endlessly, and ruin the entire performance. Or she can acknowledge the mistake, keep playing, and allow the melody to continue. The wrong note remains, but it no longer defines the song. This is the practice of release. We do not erase the past. We allow it to fade into the larger music of life. One practice for releasing regret is mindful reflection. Instead of drowning in "what if," we ask, "What can I learn from this?" The Buddha called this wise investigation. When we reflect with awareness, the past becomes teacher instead of tormentor. Perhaps a harsh word teaches us to speak. With more care, perhaps a failure teaches us resilience. Perhaps a lost opportunity teaches us gratitude for what is here now. Every regret can transform into wisdom if seen with clarity. But this requires gentleness. Harsh self-judgment only deepens the wound. Compassion allows the lesson to emerge. Self-compassion is essential here. Many people speak to themselves in ways they would never speak to a friend. They say, "I am worthless. I always fail. I ruin everything." These words carve scars deeper than the original mistake. But what if we spoke differently? What if we placed a hand on our own heart and said, "I made a mistake, yes, but I am human. I am learning. May I grow from this?" The Buddha taught that compassion must begin with oneself. Without it, healing cannot take root. With it, regret begins to loosen. Forgiveness, too, plays a role. Sometimes the hardest person to forgive is ourselves. We replay harm we caused, unable to let it go. But forgiveness is not saying it didn't matter. Forgiveness is saying, I acknowledge it. I take responsibility, and I choose not to punish myself forever. This does not erase consequences, but it ends the cycle of self-cruelty. It allows space for growth. In Buddhist teaching, each moment is new, each breath a chance to begin again. Forgiveness opens the door to this rebirth. There is also the regret of what others have done to us. Someone betrayed us, hurt us, abandoned us. We replay their actions, wishing we could change them. But the truth is, we cannot rewrite their choices. We can only choose our response. To carry bitterness is to carry their actions inside us forever. To forgive is to release ourselves, not them. It is to say, "You harmed me, but I will not harm myself by holding this pain forever." The wound may remain, but the chain is broken. Let us pause with a story. There was once a woman who carried a jar of water each day to her family. One day, she stumbled and dropped the jar. It shattered on the ground. For weeks, she returned to the spot, staring at the shards, weeping over her clumsiness. The family remained thirsty because she could not carry new water. One day, a wise elder said, "The jar is broken. You cannot mend it with your tears. Carry a new jar, and your family will drink again." The woman finally lifted a new jar, and life moved forward. In the same way, regret keeps us staring at broken jars. Healing begins when we pick up the new jar and continue walking. Mindfulness. Practice is like this. Each time the mind drifts into old regrets, we gently return. That moment is gone. This breath is here. We may return 1,000 times. Each return is a small act of freedom. Slowly, the grip of regret weakens. The past remains part of our story, but it no longer dictates the present. We become free to live again. And yet, regret has another dimension. Sometimes it hides beneath perfectionism. We fear making mistakes, so we try to control everything, to act flawlessly. But life does not allow perfection. Mistakes are inevitable. The Buddha himself taught that trial and error are part of the path. To stumble is not failure, it is learning. When we accept this, regret loses its sting. Each mistake becomes part of our unfolding wisdom knot. As we close this first half of our exploration of regret, let us reflect. Regret is heavy because it chains. Used to what cannot be changed. But the Buddha's path offers release. By distinguishing healthy remorse from endless regret, by practicing self-compassion, by forgiving ourselves and others, by learning from mistakes, by returning to the present, we loosen the chains. We discover that we are not the sum of our past actions. We are the awareness that can learn, grow, and begin again moment by moment. Breath by breath. In the second half of this journey into regret, we will go deeper. We will explore how the illusion of permanence feeds regret, how compassion transforms even deep wounds, and how living fully in the present moment frees us to create a future no longer dictated by the past. The weight of regret often grows from the illusion that the past is still alive. We replay old mistakes as if they are happening again right now. But in truth, the past no longer exists. It is like a shadow cast by a tree that has already fallen. We can stare at the shadow for years, yet no amount of staring will bring the tree back. The Buddha reminded his followers again and again, everything is impermanent. This includes not only our joys, but also our mistakes, our failures, our wounds. To forget this is to suffer. To remember it is to begin healing. Impermanence does not mean that what happened was unimportant. It means that what happened is not happening now. The only place it still lives is in the mind. And the mind has the power to either chain us or free us. When we cling to regret, we chain ourselves to a moment that has vanished. When we acknowledge it, learn from it, and release it, we walk free. In this way, impermanence becomes not a source of despair, but a doorway to liberation. One of the Buddha's most hopeful teachings is that each moment is new. He said, with each breath, we can begin again. This means that no matter how heavy the past, we are never permanently defined by it. Each inhale carries life. Each exhale releases what no longer serves. In practice, this means that if we hurt someone yesterday, we can apologize today. If we failed yesterday, we can try again today. If we judged ourselves harshly yesterday, we can offer kindness today. Regret says, it is too late. Awareness replies, it is never too late to begin again. To live this truth, we must practice compassion, not only for who we are now, but for who we were then. Many regrets are born from the belief that we should have known better. But the reality is that in those moments, we acted with the awareness and resources we had at the time. We did not yet know what we know now. We did not yet see what we see now. To expect our past self to act with our current wisdom is unfair. Compassion means saying to our past self, you did your best with what you had. I forgive you. This simple act of kindness can loosen years of regret. Forgiving others also requires remembering impermanence. The person who hurt us is not frozen in that moment. They too have changed. Perhaps they have grown. Perhaps they have stumbled further. Either way, they are no longer the same person. Clinging to their old actions keeps us trapped in a moment. That has dissolved. Forgiveness allows us to release them and ourselves into the flow of change. It does not erase the past, but it frees the present. Another dimension of regret is the fear of wasted time. People often say, I wasted years in the wrong relationship. I wasted years in the wrong job. I wasted years chasing the wrong goals. But nothing is truly wasted if we learn from it. The Buddha compared life to a field. Some seasons bring rich harvests. Others bring drought. Both are part of the farmer's wisdom. In the same way, every experience, pleasant or painful, can become nourishment for growth. The so-called wasted years teach us what we value, what we long for, what we will no longer accept. They shape us into who we are now. When we see this, regret transforms into gratitude for the lessons hidden in loss. One practice to heal regret is writing a letter to the past self. Sit quietly and imagine the version of you who made the mistake. Then write, "I see you. I know you are afraid. I know you were doing your best. I forgive you. I thank you for carrying me this far." This exercise, rooted in mindfulness and compassion, can soften the harsh inner voice. It can help us release the endless cycle of judgment. Each time we write or speak words of forgiveness, we chip away at regret's grip. Another practice is offering merit. In Buddhist tradition, practitioners dedicate the positive energy of their actions to others, including those they may have harmed. For example, after meditation, one might whisper, "May the peace I have cultivated be offered to those I have hurt. May they be free." This simple practice does not undo the past, but it directs the heart toward healing. It shifts focus from self-condemnation to compassion. Over time, this shift can bring profound relief. There is also the practice of present moment immersion. Regret thrives when we live in yesterday. The cure is to return fully to today. Notice the taste of your food, the sound of laughter, the feel of the sun on your skin. Each small act of presence reminds us, life is here, not in the past. With each mindful step, we walk further away from regret's shadow. We discover that the present is rich, alive, and untouched by yesterday's mistakes. Let us pause with another story. A disciple once came to the Buddha, overwhelmed by regret for a terrible action he had committed. He asked if redemption was possible. The Buddha pointed to a glass of water. Then he dropped a handful of salt into it and asked the disciple to drink. The disciple winced. "Too salty," he said. Then the Buddha led him to a lake and poured in another handful of salt. "Now drink," he said. The disciple tasted and replied, "It is fresh." The Buddha smiled. "Your mistake is like salt. If your heart remains small, it will poison you. But if you enlarge your heart, it will lose its power." This teaching shows that regret does not have to destroy us. When we expand compassion, wisdom, and presence, even heavy mistakes dissolve into the vastness of the heart. As we complete this part of the journey, let us gather the insights. Regret is heavy, but it is not permanent. Through impermanence, we remember that the past is gone. Through compassion, we forgive ourselves and others. Through reflection, we turn mistakes into teachers. Through presence, we reclaim life now. The chains of regret can be broken, not by erasing the past, but by transforming our relationship with it. Each breath is a chance to begin again. Each step is a new chapter. We are not defined by our mistakes. We are defined by our capacity to awaken. And now we move forward. Beyond stress, money, relationships, anxiety, and regret lies another wound, fear of the future. Even when the past is released, the mind leaps ahead, painting pictures of disaster. We wonder, what will happen to me, to my family, to the world? In the next part, we will face this fear directly. We will explore how the Buddha's teachings on trust, impermanence, and the wisdom of living fully in the present can free us from the chains of tomorrow that the mind loves to run ahead. It leaps past today into tomorrow, next week, next year. It paints vivid pictures. The company downsizes and you lose your job. The illness grows worse. The economy collapses. Your loved ones suffer. The world spirals into chaos. None of these events are happening now, yet they feel as real as the chair you sit on. This is the power of fear of the future. It drags us out of the present and chains us to imagine disasters. It convinces us that security will come only when we can control tomorrow. But tomorrow never arrives. There is only ever today. Fear of the future is different from simple planning. Planning is wise. We buy groceries for the week, save money for retirement, make arrangements for our children. These are natural acts of care. Fear is different. Fear fills planning with panic. Instead of preparing calmly, we obsess. Instead of saving wisely, we hoard. Instead of caring for tomorrow, we ruin today. Fear of the future consumes not only what has not happened, but what is happening. It robs us twice, once in imagination, once in reality. Why does the future hold such power? Because uncertainty feels dangerous. The human mind craves control. It wants guarantees. But life offers none. Weather shifts. Markets rise and fall. People change. Bodies age. No matter how carefully we plan, the future will always contain unknowns. The Buddha named this truth directly. All things are impermanent. All things are uncertain. To resist this is to suffer. To embrace it is to find peace. Consider this. How many of the things you once feared actually came true? And of those that did, how many were as bad as you imagined? Often, the mind exaggerates. It builds mountains out of shadows. Fear convinces us that we cannot survive what may come. Yet when real challenges arrive, we often find ourselves stronger than expected. The mind underestimates our resilience. The Buddha knew this. He taught that suffering comes not from events themselves, but from the stories we tell about them. The future is not the problem. Our clinging to certainty is. A story from the Buddha's life illustrates this. Once, a disciple was consumed with worry about the future. He feared sickness, poverty, and loss. The Buddha asked him, "If you were struck by an arrow, would it hurt?" The disciple said yes. Then the Buddha asked, "And if you were struck by a second arrow in the same spot, would it not hurt more?" The disciple agreed. The Buddha explained, "The first arrow is life, its changes, its challenges. The second arrow is our fear and resistance. We cannot avoid the first arrow, but we need not shoot the second. Fear of the future is the second arrow. It magnifies pain before it arrives, and sometimes even when it never does not. So how do we release this fear? The first step is presence. The future exists only in imagination. The present exists in reality. When fear arises, we can return to the breath, the body, the moment. We can ask, right now, in this exact moment, am I safe? Am I breathing? Am I alive? Often, the answer is yes. This reminder pulls us out of tomorrow and back into today. Each time we return, fear weakens. Each time we return, peace strengthens. Another step is trust. Not blind trust that nothing bad will happen, but trust in our ability to meet whatever comes. The Buddha did not promise a life free of suffering. He promised that wisdom and compassion can carry us through suffering. Trust means saying, I do not know what tomorrow will bring, but I know I will face it with awareness. I know I will not face it alone. This trust is not naive. It is grounded in the truth that life itself has carried us through every challenge so far. Even when we thought we could not survive, here we are, breathing, living, moving forward. We can also practice letting go of outcomes. Much fear arises because we demand specific results. The interview must go well, the investment must grow, the relationship must last. But outcomes are beyond our control. The Buddha taught to focus on effort, not results. Do your best with awareness and compassion, and release the rest. Imagine planting a seed. You water it, tend it, and protect it. But whether it grows depends on rain, soil, sun factors you cannot control. Worrying about them does not help the seed. In the same way, fear of the future does not help our efforts. Letting go of results allows us to act wisely without being consumed by fear. Community also helps dissolve fear. When alone, the unknown feels overwhelming. But when we share with others, we remember that fear of the future is universal. Everyone worries about sickness, loss, and change. Knowing this brings comfort. It reminds us we are not singled out by fate. We are part of a shared human journey. In Sangha, the community of practice fear loses its isolation. We hold each other's hands as we step into the unknown together. Another practice is gratitude. Fear focuses on what might go wrong. Gratitude focuses on what is already right. When we pause to notice the roof overhead, the meal on the table, the friend who calls, the breath that sustains us, fear softens. Gratitude roots us in today, showing us that even in uncertainty, life offers countless gifts. The future may bring storms, but the present offers sunlight. When we see this clearly, fear loses its total power. Let us imagine a scenario. A person lies awake, fearing the loss of a job. The mind spins. What if I cannot pay rent? What if I lose everything? Their chest tightens, but then they pause. They place a hand on the heart. They breathe deeply. They ask, right now, am I safe? The answer is yes. They remember the Buddha's words about the second arrow. They whisper, I do not know. Tomorrow, but tonight, I am alive. Tonight, I am breathing. Tonight, I rest. Slowly, fear softens. Sleep arrives. The job may still be uncertain, but peace returns to the present. This is the power of practice. As we close this first half of our exploration, we see clearly. Fear of the future is one of the greatest thieves of life. It steals today in the name of tomorrow. But the Buddha's path offers freedom, presence. In the now, trust in our strength, release of outcomes, connection with community, and gratitude for what is here. Each step frees us from the chains of tomorrow, returning us to the richness of today. In the second half of this journey into fear, we will go deeper. We will face the ultimate fear, the fear of death itself, and see how Buddhist teachings transform it from terror into liberation. We will also explore how living fully in the present moment dissolves not only fear of tomorrow, but fear of life itself. At the deepest level, fear of the future is fear of death. Beneath worries about money, health, relationships, and security lies the ultimate dread that one day life will end. We may not always admit it, but the shadow of death lingers behind every fear. What if this illness is serious? What if I lose everything and cannot survive? What if the world collapses? These questions all point to the same root, the fear of not existing. And because death is certain, but its time unknown, anxiety about the future becomes a constant companion. The Buddha did not avoid this truth. He taught his disciples to meditate on death regularly, not to frighten them, but to free them. He asked them to reflect. Death will come. It may come today. It may come tomorrow. It cannot be avoided. For many, this sounds grim. But the Buddha knew that facing death directly dissolves its hidden power. When we remember that life is fragile, we stop wasting it on endless fear. We stop postponing living. Death awareness, far from paralyzing us, awakens us to the preciousness of each moment. Imagine holding a flower in your hand. If you believed it would last forever, you might ignore it. But if you know it will wither soon, you look closely, you cherish its beauty, you breathe in its fragrance with gratitude. Life is the same. Knowing it will not last makes it more precious, not less. Fear of death shrinks when we see it as part of life's natural flow, as natural as dawn and dusk. Every beginning has an end. Every breath prepares us for the final breath. When we embrace this, anxiety loses its sharpest edge. Another teaching of the Buddha is that what we truly are cannot be reduced to a single body or moment. He taught the principle of interbeing. We exist because of countless causes and conditions. Just as a wave is part of the ocean, we are part of life itself. The wave rises and falls, but the ocean remains. In the same way, our individual form will dissolve, but the great ocean of life continues. When we identify only with the wave, death seems terrifying. When we remember we are also the ocean, fear softens into trust. This perspective allows us to see death not as an end, but as transformation. Just as a leaf falls and nourishes the soil for new growth, our life becomes part of a larger cycle. This does not erase grief. Losing loved ones still brings pain. Facing our own mortality still stirs unease. But when viewed with wisdom, death becomes not a thief, but a teacher. It reminds us, live now, love now, breathe now. Tomorrow is uncertain, but this moment is real. One story tells of a woman named Kisagotami, whose child had died. Stricken with grief, she went to the Buddha, begging him to bring the child back. The Buddha told her to find a mustard seed from a household that had never known death. She searched every home in the village, but in each place she found lost parents. Children, siblings gone. Finally, she returned to the Buddha, realizing the universality of death. Through this, her grief softened. She saw that death touches every life. This story remains powerful today. It shows that we are not alone in facing mortality. Everyone shares this journey. And in that shared humanity, fear lessens. How does this teaching help with fear of the future? It reminds us that the ultimate fear, the fear of death, need not control us. If we can accept death, then smaller fears lose their grip. If we can face the end with calm, then we can live the present with freedom. The Buddha's path offers tools to cultivate this calm: mindfulness, compassion, awareness of impermanence, and trust in the flow of life. Together, they build a courage that is deeper than denial. It is the courage to live fully in the face of uncertainty. Let us picture this courage. A person stands at the edge of a vast ocean, waves crashing, horizon unknown. Fear whispers, "What? If the storm comes? What if you drown?" But the person breathes deeply. They remember, storms may come, but I can swim. Waves may rise, but I am part of this ocean. Instead of shrinking, they step forward, feeling the water embrace them. They live not by controlling the sea, but by moving with it. This is the courage the Buddha invites us to embody. Another practice is living as if each day were the last. This does not mean reckless indulgence. It means presence. If today were your final day, would you waste it in worry? Or would you speak words of love, savor simple joys, and rest in gratitude? Living this way transforms fear of the future into appreciation for the present. Each sunrise becomes a gift. Each hug becomes precious. Each breath becomes sacred. The future no longer looms as a threat. It becomes an unknown canvas, painted with today's colors. Community once again plays a role, sharing our fears of death. And the future with others opens space for honesty and healing. Too often, society hides death, treating it as taboo. This silence makes fear grow in secret. But when we speak openly about our worries, our grief, our questions, we realize we are not alone. Others carry the same fears. Others seek the same peace. Together, we can hold these truths with compassion, transforming isolation into connection. Gratitude also dissolves fear. When the mind worries about what might happen, gratitude brings us back to what is happening. The warmth of a cup of tea, the sound of birds in the morning, the laughter of a child. These small blessings ground us. They remind us that life, even in its fragility, is full of gifts. Gratitude shifts focus from what we might lose to what we already have. Fear cannot dominate a heart filled with thanks. As we close part 6, let us reflect. Fear of the future is natural, but it need not rule us. The Buddhist teachings remind us, the future is uncertain, but uncertainty is not an enemy. It is a nature of life. We can meet it with presence, trust, and gratitude. We can face the ultimate fear of death with acceptance, seeing it as part of life's flow. And in doing so, we discover courage, not the absence of fear, but the strength to live fully despite it. The future no longer steals today. We reclaim each moment as sacred, each breath is enough dot, and now we move to the next step of our journey. Beyond fear of tomorrow lies another burden, anger and resentment. For many, these emotions burn like fire, consuming peace, damaging relationships, and leaving scars. In the next part, we will explore how the Buddha's wisdom transforms anger into compassion and how forgiveness becomes the water that cools the flames. Anger is a fire. It rises quickly, burning hot, consuming reason, scorching everything in its path. In the heat of anger, we say words we later regret, slam doors we wish we had left open, wound those we love most. For a moment, it feels powerful like fire, flashing in the dark, but afterward, all that remains is ash, broken trust, lingering resentment, inner exhaustion. Anger promises strength, but delivers destruction. Resentment is anger that never leaves. It is the ember that glows long after the fire should have gone out. It smolders in the heart, feeding on memory. Every time we replay what was done to us, every time we whisper, "How could they?" or "Why me?" the ember flares. Resentment becomes a prison, locking us in bitterness. It convinces us that by holding on, we are punishing the other. But in truth, we are the ones who suffer. As the Buddha said, holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned. Why does anger arise so easily? Because it is rooted in hurt. Beneath the fire of anger lies the wound of pain feeling, disrespected, betrayed, ignored, rejected. Anger is pain's armor. It makes us feel less vulnerable, less small. But the armor is heavy, and it cuts both ways. The more we wear it, the more we suffer. If we look closely at anger, we see sadness. If we look more closely still, we see fear. And if we look with wisdom, we see the universal truth. Just as we are hurt, so too are those who hurt us. Their actions come from their own wounds, their own ignorance, their own suffering. This does not excuse harm, but it explains why anger feeds on itself endlessly unless met with compassion. The Buddha taught that anger is one of the three great poisons of the mind, along with greed and ignorance. He warned that anger clouds vision, making it impossible to see reality clearly. Imagine trying to look through water when it is boiling. The surface distorts, the image blurs. Only when the water cools does clarity return. In the same way, when anger boils in us, we cannot see truth. We misinterpret words, assume intentions, and react with violence. Only when the mind cools can wisdom arise. How then do we cool the fire? The first step is recognition. When anger arises, we name it. This is anger. Too often, we are swept away before we even notice. But mindfulness interrupts the pattern. By naming the emotion, we create space. We are no longer fully inside the fire. We are observing it. This shift is powerful. It reminds us that anger is a passing state, not our identity. We are not anger. We are the awareness that sees anger. The next step is breathing. When the body is consumed by anger, the breath grows shallow and rapid. Conscious breathing reverses this. Inhaling deeply, exhaling slowly, we begin to calm the nervous system. Each breath is like water poured onto the fire. The Buddha compared mindful breathing to a cool breeze on a hot day. It does not erase anger. instantly, but it begins to soothe it. Even a few breaths can prevent harmful words or actions. Breathing gives us time to choose instead of react. Another step is pausing. In the heat of anger, silence can be medicine. Instead of shouting back, we step away. Instead of sending the message, we wait. Anger often demands instant expression, but wisdom waits until the fire cools. Then, when words are spoken, they come not as weapons, but as bridges. The Buddha called this right speech, words that are truthful, kind, beneficial, and timely. Anger wants weapons. Wisdom offers healing. Compassion is the deepest medicine for anger. When we see that those who hurt us are themselves suffering, our hearts begin to soften. This does not mean tolerating abuse. Boundaries remain important, but compassion allows us to release hatred. It allows us to say, I will not let your suffering create endless suffering in me. Compassion cools resentment by turning attention outward, away from vengeance and toward understanding. Even when we cannot forgive yet, compassion plants the seed of healing. There is a story of two monks who carried a woman across a river. Later, one monk fumed. We should not have touched her. We broke our vow. The other monk replied calmly, Brother, I set her down at the river's edge. Why are you still carrying her? This story reveals how resentment binds us. We carry past events long after they are over, keeping the burden alive. The Buddha's path invites us to put the burden down. To release is not weakness. It is strength to strength. To walk forward unchained. Forgiveness is the natural extension of compassion. It is not forgetting, nor excusing, nor erasing. It is choosing freedom over bitterness. When we forgive, we stop drinking the poison of resentment. We give ourselves the gift of peace. Forgiveness is sometimes gradual. It may take time, years, even, but each small step matters. Each act of letting go, however small, cools the ember. The heart grows lighter. Self-forgiveness is equally vital. Many carry anger toward themselves, resentment for past mistakes, shame for failures. This self-anger can be as destructive as anger toward others. It burns silently, eroding self-worth. The Buddha taught that we deserve compassion as much as anyone else. Self-forgiveness is not indulgence. It is honesty. It says, I made a mistake. I learned. I begin again. Without self-forgiveness, peace remains out of reach. Another practice is loving kindness meditation. We begin by wishing ourselves well. May I be safe. May I be peaceful. May I be free from suffering. Then we extend it to someone we love, then to someone neutral, then to someone difficult, even the one who angered us. At first, it may feel impossible, but with practice, the heart softens. Loving kindness transforms anger into compassion, resentment into release. It is like sunlight melting ice. Slowly, steadily, the frozen heart begins to flow again. As we close this first half of our exploration of anger, let us pause. Anger is a fire that burns first within us. Resentment is the ember that refuses to die. But the Buddhist path offers water for the flames, mindfulness to recognize anger, breathing to calm it, silence to pause, compassion to soften, forgiveness to release, loving kindness to transform. Anger will still arise, but it need not rule us. We can choose freedom over fire, peace over poison. And in the second half of this journey into anger, we will go deeper. We will explore how to rebuild relationships damaged by anger, how to set wise boundaries without hatred, and how to transform even righteous anger into compassionate action. We will see that anger, when understood, can become not destruction, but a doorway to wisdom. When anger explodes, it leaves behind brokenness, harsh words spoken, trust shaken, silence heavy with distance. One of the hardest tasks is rebuilding relationships damaged by anger. The Buddha taught that reconciliation begins with humility. Instead of clinging to pride, I was right, you are wrong, we pause and ask, what truly matters more, being right or being at peace? Often, what we want most is not victory, but connection. The first step in rebuilding is dropping the sword of righteousness and extending the hand of honesty. Apology is powerful medicine. Not the shallow, sorry if you felt hurt, but a genuine acknowledgement. I spoke in anger. I caused pain. I regret it. I want to do better. Such words require courage. They require us to step beyond ego and into vulnerability. But they plant seeds of healing. The Buddha emphasized right speech, not only in restraint, but also in repair. Words can wound, but words can also mend. A heartfelt apology can begin to cool resentment and reopen a closed heart. For reconciliation to take root, listening is essential. Too often, anger drowns out the voice of the other. We focus only on our wound, forgetting theirs. But healing comes when we practice deep listening silently, attentively, without planning our reply. We listen not to defend, but to understand. When someone feels heard, their anger softens too. In this way, mutual listening becomes the bridge across division. The Buddha himself often resolved disputes not by preaching, but by listening deeply, reflecting back what he heard, and guiding others to see each other's humanity. Yet forgiveness and reconciliation do not mean erasing boundaries. Compassion is not submission. The Buddha taught the importance of wise discernment. If someone repeatedly harms us, it is not compassionate to allow it again. Boundaries are a form of love for ourselves and even for the other, who may also be trapped in harmful habits. Setting boundaries does not require anger. It can be done calmly, firmly, with clarity. We can say, I care about you, but I cannot allow this behavior. Such words honor both compassion and wisdom. They protect without hatred. Transforming anger does not always mean dissolving it completely. Sometimes anger arises in the face of injustice, poverty, cruelty, exploitation, oppression. The Buddha did not teach that we must be passive in the face of suffering. He taught that our actions must arise from wisdom and compassion, not hatred. Anger can be like a spark if used blindly. It burns down the house. But if transformed into energy guided by compassion, it becomes a flame that lights the way. This is the path of compassionate action. Consider the example of social injustice. Anger at cruelty may inspire us to speak, to act, to protect. But if we act with hatred, we spread more suffering. If we act with compassion, we bring healing. The difference is in the heart. Compassionate action does not deny the reality of anger. It harnesses its energy and transforms it into courage. In this way, anger becomes a teacher, showing us where care is needed most. But wisdom ensures that the fire becomes light, not destruction. Another practice to cool resentment is reflection on shared humanity. When someone angeres us, we often see only their faults. We reduce them to a single action or word. But each person, like us, longs to be happy, fears suffering, struggles with wounds. When we remember this, our perspective shifts. The one who shouted at us is also carrying pain. The one who betrayed us is also caught in ignorance. This does not justify harm, but it widens our vision. It allows us to see not only the act, but the person. And in that seeing, compassion grows. A story tells of a monk who was insulted harshly by another. The insulted monk remained calm. Later, a disciple asked, "Why did you not respond with anger?" The monk replied, "If someone offers you a gift and you do not accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The disciple answered, "To the giver." The monk smiled, "So it is with anger. I do not accept it. It remains with the one who gave it." This story reminds us that we do not have to drink every cup of poison handed to us. We can choose to let it stay with the giver. This choice is freedom. Self-practice also matters. Anger often lingers not only toward others, but within ourselves. We may regret past outbursts, replaying them with shame. The Buddha urged his disciples to treat themselves with the same compassion offered to others. Just as we forgive others for their ignorance, we forgive ourselves for our own. Each time anger arises, it becomes an opportunity to learn. Instead of shame, we cultivate curiosity. What wound was I protecting? What story fueled this fire? In this way, even our own mistakes become teachers. As we continue, let us not forget the role of mindfulness in daily life. Anger often builds slowly, like water heating before it boils. If we notice early signs, tightening jaw, rising heartbeat, restless thoughts, we can intervene before eruption. A few mindful breaths, a short walk, a pause for reflection can prevent hours of regret. This is why the Buddha emphasized constant awareness. The earlier we notice, the easier the fire is to cool. Now imagine a life transformed by these practices. Anger still arises, for it is part of human nature. But instead of controlling us, it becomes a signal. We pause, breathe, and see clearly. We speak words that heal instead of harm. We set boundaries without hatred. We forgive without forgetting. We act with compassion instead of vengeance. Resentment no longer poisons our days. Instead, the fire of anger becomes a light guiding us to wisdom and love. As we close part 7, we see the arc clearly. Anger and resentment are real and destructive, but they are not destiny. With mindfulness, compassion, forgiveness, and wise action, the fire cools, the embers fade, the heart grows light, and even righteous anger becomes a force for healing when transformed by compassion. In this freedom, we discover a peace deeper than pride, a strength greater than rage. And now, we turn to the next chapter. Beyond anger lies another challenge of modern life: loneliness and disconnection. In a world more connected by technology than ever, many feel more isolated than before. Hearts ache for belonging, for intimacy, for true community. In the next part, we will explore how the Buddha's teachings on interconnection and compassion can heal the wound of loneliness and restore the joy of connection. There is a silence that feels heavier than noise. It comes late at night, when the phone does not ring, when no one checks in, when you scroll through endless photos of smiling faces and feel strangely absent from the world. You may be surrounded by people, yet still feel invisible. This is loneliness, not simply being alone, but feeling unseen, unheard, disconnected. It is one of the deepest pains of modern life. Technology promised to connect us. Social media, instant messages, constant notifications on the surface. We are more linked than ever. Yet beneath the constant buzz, many hearts feel empty. We see updates, but not understanding. Emojis, but not empathy. 1,000 friends online, yet no one to hold our hand when grief strikes. This paradox leaves people wondering, why, with so much connection, do I feel so alone? The answer lies in the difference between contact and connection. Contact is exchanging information. Connection is exchanging presence. Contact says, I saw your post. Connection says, I see you. Contact is quick, shallow, often distracted. Connection is slow, deep, intentional. Human hearts are nourished by connection, not contact. Without it, even crowded rooms feel lonely. Without it, even marriages feel empty. Loneliness is not the absence of people. It is the absence of presence. Loneliness carries many forms. There is the loneliness of the single person longing for love. The loneliness of the married person feeling unseen by a partner. The loneliness of the elderly whose friends have passed away. The loneliness of the young scrolling through endless feeds, yet feeling excluded. The loneliness of immigrants far from home, of dreamers misunderstood by those around them, of seekers walking paths that others cannot see. Each form is unique, yet all share the same wound, the longing to belong. The Buddha understood this longing. He taught that human beings are interdependent. We are not separate drops, he said. We are the ocean. He emphasized the importance of Sangha, a community of practice, as essential to the path. Even he, though enlightened, did not walk alone. He walked with disciples, monks, nuns, and lay followers, bound together by shared practice and compassion. In Buddhism, community is not decoration. It is medicine. It is the antidote to isolation. Why does loneliness hurt so much? Because connection is not optional. It is woven into our very being. From the moment of birth, we depend on others to survive. Our nervous system is wired for attunement, for eye contact, for touch, for the soothing rhythm of another heartbeat. When these are absent, we feel incomplete. Loneliness is not weakness. It is a signal, like hunger or thirst, that something vital is missing. It tells us, you are meant to connect, but loneliness often feeds itself. The more disconnected we feel, the more shame we carry. We tell ourselves, something must be wrong with me. That's why no one cares. This shame drives us deeper into isolation. We withdraw, fearing rejection. We mask our true feelings, fearing judgment. The result is a vicious cycle. Loneliness breeds shame, shame breeds withdrawal, withdrawal breeds more loneliness. The Buddha taught that ignorance feeds suffering. Here, ignorance is the belief that we are alone in our loneliness. In truth, nearly everyone has felt this pain. Recognizing this universality begins to break the cycle. The path of healing begins with self-connection. When we feel lonely, we often seek others to fill the emptiness. But if we do not first connect with ourselves, with our breath, our body, our feelings, no amount of company will soothe us. The Buddha taught mindfulness as the foundation of connection. By sitting quietly, breathing deeply, noticing our sensations and emotions, we come home to ourselves. Loneliness says, "You are abandoned." Mindfulness replies, "I am here for you." This self-presence is the first step to healing. From self-connection, we can extend to others. Deep listening is one of the most powerful practices. When we listen without interrupting, without planning our reply, without judgment, we create space for another to feel seen. This dissolves loneliness like sunlight dissolves mist. And when we listen deeply, others are more likely to listen to us in return. Connection grows. The Buddha described this as compassion in action, offering our full presence as the greatest gift. Another practice is loving kindness meditation. We begin with ourselves. May I be safe. May I be happy. May I live with ease. Then we extend it to loved ones, to strangers, even to those who have hurt us. This practice expands the circle of belonging. It reminds us that all beings share the same longing for safety and happiness. When practiced regularly, loving kindness dissolves the illusion of separation. It awakens the truth. We are already connected. Loneliness begins to lose its grip. But what about the fear of rejection? Many avoid connection because they fear being misunderstood or dismissed. The Buddha taught courage in vulnerability. To say honestly, "I am lonely," or "I need support," feels risky. Yet it opens the door to real connection. Masks may protect us from rejection, but they also prevent us from being seen. Vulnerability invites genuine presence. It says, "Here I am." And when someone responds with acceptance, loneliness softens instantly. Community is also essential. The Buddha said that having spiritual friends is the whole of the holy life. We need companions who remind us of our worth, who share our struggles, who walk with us on the path. This does not mean we must join a monastery. Community can be found in meditation groups, support circles, places of worship, even among a few close friends who value presence. What matters is not numbers, but depth. A single friend who listens deeply can heal more loneliness than 100 superficial contacts. Let us pause with a story. A disciple once asked the Buddha, "Is having good friends half of the spiritual life?" The Buddha replied, "No, it is the whole of it." This teaching reveals that connection is not a side path. It is central. Just as a tree cannot grow without soil and sunlight, we cannot grow without others. Loneliness reminds us of this truth. It calls us back to community, to compassion, to shared humanity. Yet even in community, loneliness sometimes lingers. Why? Because true connection requires openness. If we carry walls of judgment, anger, or fear, no one can reach us. The Buddha taught that to receive love, we must be willing to give love. To feel seen, we must be willing to show ourselves. Connection is a two-way street. Healing loneliness means not only seeking presence, but also offering it. When we focus on giving, listening, caring, extending kindness, we often discover that loneliness fades naturally. In giving connection, we receive it. As we close this first half of our exploration, let us reflect. Loneliness is one of the deepest wounds of modern life. It is not solved by more contact, but by more presence. It begins with self-connection, expands through deep listening and loving kindness, and blossoms in community. The Buddha's teachings remind us that we are never truly separate. Like waves of the same ocean, we rise and fall together. Loneliness whispers, "You are alone." Wisdom replies, "You belong." And in the second half of this journey into loneliness, we will go deeper. We will explore how to transform solitude into strength, how to build authentic community in daily life, and how to find connection even in moments of aloneness. We will see that loneliness, when understood, can become not a curse, but a doorway into compassion and belonging. Loneliness is often seen as an enemy, but solitude can be a teacher. The two are not the same. Loneliness is the pain of feeling cut off. Solitude is the peace of being with oneself. The difference lies in attitude. When we resist being alone, we suffer. When we embrace it, we discover depth. The Buddha himself often retreated into forests and mountains to meditate. He was not escaping people. He was deepening presence. In solitude, he found clarity. In stillness, he touched freedom. Solitude is not emptiness. It is fullness that arises when we sit quietly with ourselves. Learning to transform loneliness into solitude begins with changing the way we speak to ourselves. Instead of saying, "I am abandoned," we say, "I am present." Instead of saying, "No one is here," we say, "I am here." This simple shift reframes aloneness. The silence of solitude becomes not a void, but a canvas. It becomes a space where we can breathe, reflect, and reconnect. When we learn to befriend ourselves, loneliness loses its edge. We realize that we are never truly alone. We carry the entire universe within us. Solitude also teaches us to appreciate connection more deeply. Just as silence makes music sweeter, time alone makes companionship richer. When we are comfortable with ourselves, we no longer cling desperately to others. We can enter relationships freely, offering love instead of grasping for it. Loneliness says, "I need you to fill my emptiness." Solitude says, "I am whole, and I choose to share." This shift transforms relationships from dependency into mutual nourishment. Still, human beings are social creatures. Solitude is medicine, but community is food. Without authentic community, the spirit starves. The Buddha emphasized Sangha as a pillar of the path. Sangha means more than a group of people in the same room. It means people united by shared values, by presence, by compassion. Authentic community is built not on quantity, but on quality. It may be 3 close friends who meet regularly, a meditation circle, a volunteer group, or a family committed to listening deeply. What matters is sincerity. In authentic community, masks drop, hearts open, and belonging flourishes. How do we build such community in modern life? It begins with small acts of presence. Invite a friend for tea and leave the phone aside. Ask someone how they are and truly listen. Share your own struggles honestly. Each act plants a seed of connection. Over time, these seeds grow into bonds that nourish. The Buddha taught that spiritual friendship is one of the greatest treasures. A single friend who listens deeply is wealth beyond measure. In a world obsessed with numbers, followers, likes, contacts, this teaching is revolutionary. Depth matters. More than breadth. Another way to heal loneliness is service. When we turn our attention outward, loneliness softens. Volunteering, helping a neighbor, offering a kind word, all these acts create connection. Service reminds us that we are part of something larger than ourselves. The Buddha said, "If you light a lamp for another, it will also brighten your path." Loneliness thrives on self-focus. Service dissolves it by expanding our vision. We see that our presence matters. We see that we belong. There is also the practice of seeing interconnection in daily life. Every sip of water connects us to the cloud, the rain, the river, the farmer, the earth. Every bite of food connects us to countless beings who grew, harvested, transported, and prepared it. Every breath connects us to trees, to oceans, to the vast cycle of life. The Buddha taught dependent origination. Nothing exists alone. To practice this truth is to dissolve loneliness at its root. We are never separate. We are threads in a vast web of existence. To feel this deeply is to feel belonging not only to people, but to all of life. Let us pause with a story. A disciple once asked the Buddha, "Why do I feel so alone?" The Buddha pointed to a tree and said, "Do you see that tree?" The disciple nodded. "It depends on soil, sunlight, rain, air. Without them, it cannot live. You are the same. You exist because of countless causes and conditions. When you breathe with the trees. When you eat with the earth. You are never alone." This story reveals a profound truth. Loneliness is often an illusion born of forgetfulness. Remembering interconnection dissolves isolation. Still, even with these teachings, loneliness will sometimes return. It is part of being human. The Buddha did not promise the absence of pain. He promised a way to meet pain with wisdom. When loneliness arises, we need not panic. We can sit quietly, breathe, and say, "This is loneliness. It is a visitor, not my identity." We can offer it compassion. "I see you. May you be at peace." By greeting loneliness as a guest instead of fighting it, we allow it to pass more easily. Over time, we learn to trust that even in moments of disconnection, belonging is never lost. As we complete this part of our journey, let us reflect. Loneliness is real, but it is not final. It can be transformed into solitude, into service, into community, into a deep awareness of interconnection. The Buddha's teachings remind us that we belong not only to other people, but to the entire web of life. When we practice presence, compassion, and openness, loneliness loses its power. In its place, we find connection, belonging, and joy. And now we turn to the next chapter. Beyond loneliness lies another burden of modern life, that relentless pursuit of perfection. Many feel crushed by expectations to be flawless, to achieve more, to always appear strong. In the next part, we will explore how the Buddha's wisdom reveals the freedom of imperfection, and how embracing our humanity opens the door to peace. You wake up with a list already forming in your mind, the work that must be done. the tasks that must be perfect, the standards that must be met. Even before your feet touch the floor, the weight is heavy. Perfectionism does not ask you simply to succeed. It demands that you never fail, never falter, never fall short. It whispers, "You are only as good as your achievements." And so you push yourself harder, climb higher, polish every detail until exhaustion sets in. Yet the voice is never satisfied. No matter how much you do, it tells you it is not enough. This is the burden of perfectionism. It promises happiness once the bar is reached, but the bar keeps rising. The moment we complete one task, another appears. The moment we meet one goal, a higher one emerges. We chase endlessly, but peace never arrives. Instead, life becomes a treadmill running faster, but never arriving anywhere. Behind the glitter of perfection lies deep exhaustion, anxiety, and the quiet despair of never being enough. Why does perfectionism grip us so tightly? Part of it is cultural. In modern life, achievement is worshipped. From childhood, many are praised only when they succeed. Good grades, good performance, good results. The message is clear. Your worth is tied to your output. Over time, this belief hardens. We begin to see ourselves not as human beings, but as human doings. If we rest, we feel guilty. If we fail, we feel worthless. This conditioning shapes us into perfectionists, always striving, rarely resting. Another root is fear. Perfectionism is often a shield against rejection. If I do everything flawlessly, then no one can criticize me. If I appear strong, capable, and in control, then no one will abandon me. Beneath perfectionism lies the fear of not being loved for who we are. We polish ourselves endlessly, hoping to earn acceptance. But in this chase, we lose authenticity. We wear masks so convincing that even we forget who we are beneath them. The cost of perfection is our own humanity. The Buddha saw this suffering clearly. Though the word perfectionism is modern, the craving behind it is ancient. He described it as tanha, thirst, craving, the endless desire for more. He taught that craving leads to dukkha, suffering. We crave to be perfect, to be admired, to be flawless, but perfection is an illusion. Everything in life is impermanent. Every achievement fades. Every body ages. Every creation decays. To cling to perfection is to cling to what cannot last. The result is suffering. Yet the Buddha also offered a path beyond this suffering. He taught the beauty of imperfection. In Zen tradition, there is the concept of wabi-sabi, finding beauty in what is incomplete, imperfect, impermanent. A cracked bowl, a weathered stone, a crooked tree, all reveal the truth of life. They are not flawed, they are real. In the same way, our mistakes, our scars, our limitations are not failures. They are marks of humanity. They remind us that life is not about flawless surfaces, but about authenticity. Imagine a vase with a crack. Perfectionism says, hide it, throw it away. Wisdom says, fill the crack with gold. In Japan, this art is called kintsugi. The broken pieces are not discarded. They are mended with gold, making the vase more beautiful for having been broken. In the same way, our flaws, when held with compassion, become part of our beauty. They reveal resilience, growth, and authenticity. Perfectionism hides. Wisdom reveals. How do we move from perfectionism to peace? The first step is awareness. We must notice the voice that demands flawlessness. We must hear it clearly. This is not enough. You must do more. You must be more. When we see it as a voice, not a truth, we create distance. We realize this is conditioning, not reality. Awareness is the doorway to freedom. Without it, we obey blindly. With it, we can choose differently. The next step is self-compassion. The Buddha taught that compassion must begin with ourselves. Yet perfectionists are often their own harshest critics. They speak to themselves in ways they would never speak to others. You are a failure. You are worthless. Self-compassion invites a new voice. You are human. You are learning. You are enough as you are. This shift may feel awkward at first, but it is transformative. Each time we replace self-criticism with kindness, we weaken perfectionism's grip. Each time we forgive ourselves for being imperfect, we taste freedom. Another practice is mindfulness of effort. The Buddha taught right effort, not excessive striving, not lazy neglect, but balanced, steady action. Perfectionism pushes us into over-effort, into exhaustion. Mindful effort reminds us that progress is enough. We do not need to complete everything today. We do not need to do it flawlessly. We simply need to show up with sincerity. Like a farmer, tending a field, we plant seeds, water them, and trust that growth will come. We cannot control the weather. We cannot force perfection. We can only offer steady care. Community also helps dissolve perfectionism. When we share our struggles openly, we realize we are not alone. Everyone feels inadequate at times. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone carries scars. In community, we see that perfection is not required for belonging. Authenticity is. The Buddha emphasized Sangha because it reminds us of our shared humanity. When we witness others' imperfections with compassion, we learn to hold our own with gentleness too. Let us pause with a story. A monk once tried to meditate flawlessly. He sat rigidly, forcing every breath, determined to achieve perfect stillness. Yet the more he tried, the more restless he became. Finally, exhausted, he slumped and sighed. In that moment of surrender, peace arose naturally. The Buddha, seeing this, said, "When the string of a lute is too tight, it breaks. When it is too loose, it makes no sound. Only when it is balanced does it play." This story reveals the essence of right effort. Perfectionism tightens the string until it snaps. Wisdom finds balance, and harmony flows. As we close this first half of our exploration, let us reflect. Perfectionism is a modern plague, but its roots are ancient. It ties worth to achievement, hides flaws, and demands the impossible. But the Buddha's teachings remind us, life itself is imperfect, and that is its beauty. By practicing awareness, self-compassion, balanced effort, and authentic community, we can release the chains of perfectionism. We discover that we are not loved for being flawless. We are loved for being real. In the second half of this journey into perfectionism, we will go deeper. We will explore how to transform mistakes into teachers, how to find peace in good enough, and how embracing imperfection opens the door to joy and freedom. Perfectionism tells us that mistakes are disasters. It whispers, if you fail, you are worthless. This fear of mistakes paralyzes us. We avoid risks, avoid new paths, avoid anything where success is uncertain. Yet the Buddha's path shows a different truth. Mistakes are not enemies, they are teachers. Every stumble, every misstep, every failure carries a lesson. Without mistakes, there is no growth. Just as a child learns to walk by falling again and again, we learn to live by making errors and learning from them. Imagine a sculptor chiseling stone. Each strike may remove too much or too little, yet with each attempt, the shape emerges. The beauty of the sculpture is not in its flawless creation, but in the persistence of the sculptor. In the same way, our lives are shaped by trial and error. To fear mistakes is to fear life itself. To embrace them is to embrace the process of becoming. The Buddha himself did not find enlightenment in one attempt. He practiced, failed, adjusted, and tried again. His life shows us that mistakes are not signs of failure. They are stepping stones toward wisdom. The practice of mindfulness transforms mistakes into teachers. Instead of reacting with shame, we pause and ask, what can I learn here? This gentle inquiry shifts the energy. Shame closes doors. Curiosity opens them. When we meet mistakes with curiosity, they reveal hidden truths. A harsh word shows us where patience is needed. A failed plan shows us where flexibility is required. A broken relationship shows us where honesty must grow. Mistakes become guides, pointing the way toward deeper compassion and wisdom. Another antidote to perfectionism is embracing good enough. Perfectionism demands flawless results. Wisdom asks only for sincerity. The Buddha taught right intention, to act with awareness, compassion, and honesty. When intention is pure, the result need not be perfect. Cooking a meal with love, even if it burns a little, nourishes more than a flawless dish cooked with resentment. Writing a letter with sincerity, even if the words are simple, connects more deeply than polished sentences without heart. Good enough is not mediocrity, it is freedom from tyranny. It allows us to live fully without being crushed by impossible standards. The beauty of imperfection shines most in relationships. Perfectionism tells us we must be flawless to be loved. But in truth, love deepens in vulnerability. When we share our flaws honestly, when we allow ourselves to be seen as we are, intimacy grows. Friends do not cherish us for perfection. They cherish us for authenticity. Partners do not bond over flawless masks. They bond over shared struggles, laughter, mistakes, and resilience. Embracing imperfection allows love to flow freely. Without the walls perfectionism builds, there is a Japanese saying, the crooked tree lives longer. Because it is not cut for lumber, it grows freely, uniquely, beautifully. In the same way, when we stop forcing ourselves to fit a rigid mold of perfection, we discover our unique shape. We live longer, lighter, freer. The Buddha encouraged each person to walk their own path, not to imitate others blindly. When we release perfectionism, we find not only freedom, but authenticity. We become who we truly are. Community again helps us anchor this truth. In Sangha, we see others stumble, struggle, and grow. We realize we are not alone in imperfection. This shared humanity softens the harsh inner critic. We learn to laugh at our mistakes together, to support one another, to celebrate progress instead of perfection. The Buddha said that spiritual friends are the entire path. Why? Because they remind us again and again that being human is enough. We do not have to carry the burden alone. Let us pause with a story. A monk once approached the Buddha, ashamed that his meditation was full of distractions. He said, I cannot focus. My mind wanders endlessly. I must be a failure. The Buddha smiled gently and asked, how many times did your mind wander? The monk replied, 100 times. The Buddha said, then you return to your breath 100 times. That is 100 moments of awareness. That is success. This story reveals the heart of practice. Perfection is not required. Returning again and again is enough. Progress lies not in flawless execution, but in persistence and sincerity. Gratitude also dissolves perfectionism. When we focus only on flaws, we see endless lack. When we practice gratitude, we see abundance. The imperfect meal still nourishes. The messy home still shelters. The unfinished work still reflects effort. Gratitude shifts attention from what is missing to what is present. It reminds us that life's beauty lies not in perfection, but in presence. Each imperfect moment holds gifts if we pause to see them. As we reflect, we see clearly. Perfectionism is a prison built from fear and illusion. It chains us to impossible standards, robs us of joy, and hides our humanity. But the Buddhist teachings offer freedom. Mistakes become teachers. Good enough becomes liberation. Vulnerability becomes connection. Authenticity becomes love. Gratitude becomes joy. In imperfection, we find not shame, but beauty. In being human, we find enough. As we close part 9, let us carry this truth. We are not called to be flawless. We are called to be present, compassionate, and real. The cracks in our lives are not signs of failure. They are places where light enters. When we embrace imperfection, we embrace life itself. And now, we move to the final great burden of this journey. Beyond stress, money, relationships, anxiety, regret, fear, anger, and loneliness lies the exhaustion of meaninglessness. Many today ask, what is the point of it all? Why am I here? In the next part, we will explore how the Buddhist teachings offer purpose not through grand achievements, but through presence, compassion, and awakening to the truth of life. Comes a moment, sometimes in the middle of the night, sometimes in the middle of a crowded day, when the question rises uninvited, what is the point of all this? You wake, work, earn, spend, sleep. You strive, succeed, fail, repeat. Years pass, bodies age, people come and go. And beneath it all, a voice whispers, does any of this matter? This is the ache of meaninglessness, the sense that life is a treadmill, with no destination, a story without purpose, a flame burning down to ash for no reason at all. Modern life intensifies this ache. Many are taught that meaning comes from success, career, money, status. But when these are achieved, the promised fulfillment often never arrives. The promotion brings more stress, not peace. The bigger house feels empty after the first excitement fades. The bank account grows, but the soul remains hungry. Others are told meaning lies in relationships, in romance, in family. And while these can bring joy, they can also falter. Loved ones leave, misunderstand, disappoint. Lost tears holes in the heart. And so the question returns, if nothing lasts, why bother? Some try to escape this question through distraction. Endless scrolling, endless entertainment, endless work. If the mind stays busy, perhaps the emptiness will not be felt. But late at night, when silence falls, the question whispers again. Others drown it in substances, alcohol, drugs, compulsive habits, numbing the ache for a while. But the ache returns deeper each time. Meaninglessness is not easily silenced. It waits beneath the noise, demanding attention. The Buddha faced this question head-on. Before his enlightenment, as Prince Siddhartha, he had everything: wealth, comfort, luxury. Yet he saw sickness, old age, and death. He realized that no matter how much pleasure or achievement he gained, it would all crumble in time. He too asked, what is the point? Unlike many, he did not turn away. He left the palace, seeking truth. He discovered that meaning is not found in possessions or status, but in awakening to the reality of suffering, to the path of compassion, to the freedom of letting go. His journey shows that meaninglessness is not the end of the path, it is the beginning of true seeking. Why does meaninglessness hurt so deeply? Because human beings are wired for purpose. Just as the body needs food, the spirit needs meaning. Without it, life feels hollow, even unbearable. Viktor Frankl, a survivor of the Holocaust, wrote, "Those who have a why to live can bear almost anyhow." The Buddhist teachings echo this. When we see clearly, when we understand suffering and the path beyond it, life gains direction. Meaninglessness fades, not because we answer every question, but because we walk a path that matters. So what is true meaning? The Buddha revealed it not as a single grand purpose, but as a way of living. Meaning arises in awareness, in compassion, in connection, in awakening. Each moment lived with presence is meaningful. Each act of kindness is meaningful. Each breath taken in mindfulness is meaningful. We search for some grand design, but meaning is woven into the small threads of daily life. It is not something to be earned in the future. It is something to be lived in the present. One practice is shifting from asking, "What is the point of life?" to asking, "What can I offer life?" Meaning grows when we move from self-centered craving to compassion. Helping a stranger, comforting a child, caring for the earth, these may seem small, but they ripple outward. The Buddha taught that every act of compassion enriches not only others but ourselves. Meaning is found not in what we accumulate, but in what we give. Another source of meaning is awakening to impermanence. At first, impermanence may seem to make life meaningless. If everything fades, why care? But the opposite is true. Because everything fades, everything is precious. A flower that blooms forever is easily ignored. A flower that wilts tomorrow demands our attention today. In the same way, knowing that our time is brief makes each moment sacred. Meaning arises when we cherish the fleeting beauty of life, when we embrace its impermanence rather than deny it. Community also offers meaning. Alone, life feels empty. Together, it feels purposeful. The Buddha emphasized Sangha not only for support, but because shared practice creates shared meaning. Working together, serving together, awakening together, we find belonging. Loneliness whispers, "You are insignificant." Community replies, "You matter to us." Meaning blossoms in connection. Let us pause with a story. A disciple once asked the Buddha, "What gives life purpose?" The Buddha pointed to a lamp. Its purpose is to give light, and in giving light, it fulfills itself. Your purpose is the same, to awaken, to love, to serve. In doing so, you fulfill yourself. This teaching reveals that meaning is not hidden or far away. It is in living our nature fully. Just as a lamp shines, just as a tree grows, just as a river flows, we are meant to awaken and to love. This is purpose enough. As we close this first half of our exploration, let us reflect. Meaninglessness is real, but it is not final. It arises when we seek fulfillment in what cannot last, when we measure life only by external success. But the Buddha's path shows another way. Meaning is found in presence, in compassion, in awakening, in community, in impermanence itself. We do not need to wait for some grand answer. Meaning is here, in this breath, in this act of kindness, in this step on the path. In the second half of this journey into meaning, we will go deeper. We will explore how to transform despair into purpose, how to live meaningfully even in suffering, and how the Buddha's vision of liberation gives ultimate direction to life itself. Despair often arises when we feel life has no meaning. It can come like a heavy fog, making even small tasks feel pointless. Why get up? Why try? Why care? If in the end everything fades. But despair, though painful, can become the doorway to purpose. The Buddha himself began his path in despair, seeing sickness, old age, and death, realizing that everything he knew would crumble. That realization shook him deeply, but instead of collapsing, he sought truth. In this way, despair became the first step to awakening. For us too, despair can be the teacher that turns us inward, urging us to seek a deeper meaning than what the world offers. How do we transform despair into direction? By asking not, "Why does life have no meaning?" but "How can I live meaningfully?" Here and now, the first question leaves us stuck. The second opens a path. The Buddha taught that we cannot control the ultimate mysteries of existence, but we can control how we live. Each step taken with mindfulness, each act of compassion, each breath of awareness creates meaning. Despair asks for certainty. Wisdom replies with presence. One of the most powerful teachings is that suffering itself can be meaningful. The Buddha did not hide suffering. he placed it at the heart of his path. The first noble truth is that life includes dukkha suffering, dissatisfaction, imperfection. But the presence of suffering does not mean life is meaningless. In fact, suffering can awaken compassion. When we suffer, we understand more deeply the suffering of others. When we endure hardship, we gain strength to support others in theirs. Meaning grows not by escaping suffering, but by transforming it into compassion and wisdom. Pain becomes the soil where purpose grows. Viktor Frankl, echoing this truth, wrote, "Suffering ceases to be suffering at the moment it finds a meaning." In his darkest moments, imprisoned in a concentration camp, he discovered meaning not in comfort, which was absent, but in choosing his response. He found purpose in helping fellow prisoners, in keeping hope alive, in remembering love. The Buddha's path teaches the same. Meaning arises not from what happens to us, but from how we respond. Even in hardship, we can choose awareness, compassion, and presence. That choice transforms despair into purpose. Another practice is finding meaning in service. When life feels empty, turning attention outward opens a path. Helping others, even in small ways, dissolves the sense of futility. A kind word to a stranger, a meal shared with someone hungry, a hand extended to someone struggling these moments radiate purpose. The Buddha said, if you cannot find someone to serve, serve a plant, serve the earth. Every act of care, however small, connects us to life's greater web. Service reveals that meaning is not found in grand gestures, but in simple compassion, repeated daily. We also find meaning in awakening. The Buddha's ultimate purpose was liberation, freedom from the endless cycle of craving and suffering. This does not require renouncing the world completely. It requires seeing clearly. Nothing we cling to will last, but awareness itself is free. When we awaken, even a single mindful breath becomes meaningful. Even a single moment of compassion shines with purpose. Liberation is not some distant prize. It begins here, in choosing awareness over distraction, compassion over indifference, presence over emptiness. Let us pause with a story. A man once came to the Buddha, overwhelmed by despair. He said, "Life feels meaningless. Everything ends. Nothing matters." The Buddha handed him a lamp and said, "Light it." The man lit the lamp. The Buddha asked, "What does it do?" The man replied, "It gives light." The Buddha said, "That is its meaning. And your meaning is the same, to awaken and to give light. Do not worry about how long the lamp will burn. Worry only about whether it shines while it is here." This story reveals the essence of purpose. Not endless permanence, but presence and giving. Another path to meaning is gratitude. When despair whispers that life is empty, gratitude shows us fullness. The warmth of sunlight on the skin, the laughter of a child, the taste of food, the presence of a friend, these are not small. They are life itself. Gratitude does not erase suffering, but it shifts perspective. It reminds us that even amid impermanence, beauty is everywhere. When we live with gratitude, meaning flows naturally, because we are awake to the miracle of being alive. Ultimately, the Buddha's vision of liberation offers the deepest meaning. To see clearly, to let go of clinging, to awaken to compassion and wisdom that is purpose beyond all impermanent goals. It does not deny daily joys and struggles. It places them in a larger context. When we live with this vision, every action becomes meaningful. Washing dishes with mindfulness, speaking kindly, breathing deeply. Purpose is no longer a distant achievement. It is the way we walk, here and now. As we complete this final part of our journey, let us reflect. Meaninglessness is real, but it is not the final word. The search for meaning is not futile. It is the heart of being human. The Buddha's teachings remind us that true meaning is not found in endless striving, not in possessions, not in status. It is found in awakening, compassion, service, community, gratitude, and presence. Even despair becomes a teacher, guiding us to what matters most. Life's purpose is not hidden. It is here, in each mindful breath, in each act of love, in each step on the path. And so we prepare for the conclusion. We have walked through stress, money, relationships, anxiety, regret, fear, anger, loneliness, perfectionism, and meaninglessness. Each burden was heavy, but each carried a door to freedom. In the closing chapter, we will gather these truths, weave them together, and leave with hope, clarity, and a gentle call to live the path of awakening.